Sure.
Guys, what's up? It's the kid. Yeah, man, I had to go to Hawaii, man. I had to bring out the Hawaii swag for this because this is hero. So let me just tell you the story. So normally this is a top 10 show. It's a top 10 show. So my 10 was easy. So as you well know, it's me, your main man machine. We come in here every Thursday and give you that whole top 10 swag. But then machine then sends me a text and says, actually no, he sends me a voice note. He sends me a voice note and says, what about top 20? I was like, top 20? I was like, wow. I was like, you know what? That's pretty deep. That's taking things to the next level. I was like, okay, man, let's ride with the top 20. So we've decided that we are going to do this as a top 20 and we will be having visual aids. We will be having visual aids to help us. We've sort of figured out the technical logistics to bring that to you. So guys, for your evening entertainment, for your evening amazing entertainment, Machine and I will be delivering the top 20 movie villains of all time. So as well do we like to just sort of, build it in and just talk about how it works. This is for me, and I think this was what I was saying to Machine before we even got in here, which is I know I'm missing some key movie villains, but I did this to the best as I could based on my memory. But also as well, my number one is a dude that not many people would think is my number one. So guys were like, wait. So my number one is a dude that not many people will think is my number one. So
I'm gonna guess it. No,
don't guess it. No, because we see. Don't guess it, but I can pretty much assure you that you don't have that. It's not a number one that you would even ever think of. Maybe it's on your list,
but that's why I can guess it. I want it before you announce it. When we get to number one, before you announce it, I want my shot.
Okay. That's fair. So, how did you find coming up with this then?
I found it surprisingly easy in terms of just filling out the 20 positions. And in fact, I almost found myself wanting to do a top 30. You know what I mean?
Wow.
But the thing is, as I was saying prior to us getting started, I'm sure that you're going to list some on your top 20 that I'm going to go, I wish I'd mentioned that one. I wish I'd put it on the list. And vice versa. I'm sure I'm going to mention some ones that you'll think you could have mentioned as well.
Yeah.
By the way, I'm coming at you with a new haircut. Nobody's mentioning it in the chat,
Isn't this similar to a haircut that you had before, or is this like it's kind of like a new?
It's the Julie Andrews. No,
what's that?
I said it's the Julie Andrews look.
Oh,
no, man, it's just it's a new hair. It's like shorter, slightly.
Okay.
I don't like going to.
My aim here is that everyone that has hair, I don't do this because I'm sort of envious. Everyone that has hair, my challenge to them is go bald for a week. Just go fully skinhead bald like this for a week, and then just see what's life is like during in the whole bald state of mind. Okay, so let's ride, man. Let's ride. So. Okay, let me just try and figure this out. Okay. Now I think we're good. We're good.
So we're obviously not going to go in depth because this is a top 20 list.
Yeah, you see, yeah. I think So that's what's here. We can't.
We're going to be a little bit
in depth thing because that would literally take us 3,000 years. So we're going to try and do it pretty much the best as we potentially can, because there's so many we can't really ride through there. So. Okay, man. So look, without further ado, man, I think I would like the Machine kid to go first. So Machine, look, what am I saying? It's a 20. See, I'm so used to the whole top 10 thing. I forgot it's a top 20. So what is your numero 20 then?
You know, so my rationale for putting this top 20 together.
Well, no, that's a very, very good thing. What did you see? I based this on how evil these dudes were. So I was going to say, as we go up, it is like evil, 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 super evil. So doing it, obviously, character, the writing of the character, the acting and everything about it. My main thing was how evil they were. So what was your rationale?
My rationale was a mixture of everything, but for me, what constitutes a great villain doesn't mean it doesn't necessarily mean that it has to be a richly thought out, multi-dimensional character full of nuance and pathos or whatever. For me, sometimes it's just about the visual look and the sensation that transmits to people, and to me specifically. Sometimes that would be enough, like you don't really need much else. It's just man, this guy is a really threatening force. But obviously, as you reach the higher positions in my list, it's a bit of a mix of both. Typically, it's the look, it's the feel, but it's also the character and how well constructed that character is. I'll give you an example. Why don't I give you an example and you're going to understand immediately?
No. Let's ride with this whole thing. So let's ride.
That's what I mean. Yeah. Let me give you my top 20, my 20 example, so you understand. And my number 20 is this cat named Tong Po.
Tom who?
Tong Po, man. He's the villain in. Have you ever watched Kickboxer, the Jean-Claude Van Damme movie?
And he's called Tom Po.
His name is Tong Po, and the reason why I list him as one of my top villains is that he just looks so badass, man. He looks like one of those dudes that if you had the misfortune of running into in the street, that you better cross over to the other way, because this guy looks like he could murder you with just a roundhouse kick to the face. And and he's very convincingly threatening in the film, the way that they build up to the final fight between Van Damme, an oiled up, lubed up Van Damme wearing nothing but a sarong or whatever it is, like a skirt, as usual. And
okay, so that's the right dude, isn't it?
Well, let me see. I'm not actually looking at the. Yeah, that's him, man. See how badass that guy looks. It's almost like you remember Sagat from Street Fighter 2?
Yeah.
This is what if the real life Sagat were to exist, this would be it.
Oh no. And isn't this the film where like they put their thingies in broken glass?
Exactly. So there's that element as well. Like he puts the broken glass in, and I think Van Damme doesn't. It refuses to or something. Yeah, that's right. I think if I recall correctly, yes. So not only is he like a total tatted up badass from everybody's nightmares, he also has like glass encrusted.
No. Because I remember that he just, which I think is good because he just looks like he can F you up. He looks like he can completely F you up. So I was like, no, this dude is frightening.
Yeah, this dude is frightening. There's this one scene that's really powerful. Well, first of all, he kills, he cripples Van Damme's brother in a fight. And there's this scene where they're getting. I think Van Damme hasn't really. He's not a kickboxer yet. He's just like the wingman for his brother, and they're getting ready for the fight. And they go, they're backstage, and Van Damme goes by, and he keeps hearing like this, like boom, 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 and it's like this reverberating sound. And he's like, "What the hell is this?" And then you slowly come in on a side door, and you see it's Tong Po like kicking the wall, and the wall is like like this pillar, and it's going like and it's shuddering and shit. And that's actually like, you know, these Muay Thai guys are like that, man. They're so used to like using their tibia, you know, this bone over here. It's like basically steel, and so it's not totally out of. It's incredulous. It's you can actually believe it. Yeah, so it's a great villain. It's a really threatening villain. When I was a kid watching Van Damme movies, and there's like 5 Van Damme movies that feature in my all-time list. He was one of those dudes that really had an imposing and it was just like seared into my memory. That's why I'm listing him here.
And no. I mean, see, just by you doing that, I'm gonna admit I've just done not so, but I've just done a list because see, because you've now opened up my mind into something now, because by you going, because again, I don't want to give away something, but by you going by Kickboxer, I had to do a little tweak on my list because it just sort of opened me up. Because I was like, oh yeah,
all right,
those films. Because I've sort of looked at like, you know, certain kinds of films, and also people know about like some of the best villains are in those kinds of B-movie cult hits kinds of things, because those villains are like the best, because those villains are just straight down the barrel, man. Those villains are like, no, I'm just bad. And like for me, as I said again, those are the most interesting villains, really. You see, remember, this is movie villains. You see, Megamind, I think that's a cartoon. So would Megamind count?
I think it would count, but you know, I almost featured the guy from The Incredibles, the villain from The Incredibles, but then I thought, you know, that's not a. I'm trying to get like villains that made me fear them a little bit as a kid, you know, or I got that fear bone tingling, and I wouldn't. Syndrome is his name. I wouldn't count that as one of those.
Okay, so it's not time for my number 20, and people might find this shocking, you know, because I think people will say that how the hell do you have him so low, you know, because I'm like, and for me, and he is what many people consider pretty much an iconic villain, man. And my number 20 is, let me just put up the right thing right now. My number 20 is a villain that many people will know. And people may say that, HH, you're a break for not having this guy higher, but I just say, screw you. This is my number 20. Thanos. Look, he could have been easily a top 5 villain of all time. Easily. But and for me, Josh Brolin did an amazing job. The animators and the special effects artists, they did an amazing job. But what this was lacking was true evil villainy. And the reason why he's so low is, I think, as sort of Machine has alluded to, he talks so much and he's so eager to give us an explanation for his evil that I'm like, okay, yes, you're a villain technically, but compared to some of the heavy hitters that I'm gonna get up into right here, his evil doesn't even compare to the kind of evil that this guy's. Because really, let's keep it real. What did Thanos really do? He snapped his fingers. Those guys, they came back. He snapped his
fingers and he almost got his ass kicked by Thor, even though he had all the Infinity Gems, which is just ludicrous. You know, you should have just looked at Thor and you would have atomized.
Yeah, man. I mean, because it's like, I mean, I get that, you know, okay, you wanted to create a villain that is much more rounded and has much more of a character, but I just think that's, and I think it's a theme that we'll keep on getting back to as we're in here, is your villain has to be, first of all, evoke a elements of fear. And I think the elements of fear only comes forth if you have a less is more approach. The more you find out about evil, the less evil it is. Stuff that is truly evil is stuff that you only see in bits, only stay in bits. So, yeah, so for me, but look, despite my hangups in him not living up to potential of what I think he could have been, he has to make a list. He has to make a list, and that is pretty much mostly down to Josh Brolin and the great performance by, and also the great visual work by the visual aids. But I think Thanos could have been so much more. So, Machine.
Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of people say, "Oh, feature this guy from cartoons, like Frieza." If you could include him in one of these, this is film, strictly based
movie
on
villains. Movie villains.
If you could, Frieza would be in my top 5 for sure. But yeah,
I mean, you can't really have, because if you're not opening up to cartoons, that just makes it even if you put. Wait, let's see. Now this is true. Jerry is actually evil. Like, people have missed the trick. The notion was Tom was the villain because he's always no. Jerry is a mean little dude. The kind of stuff that Jerry does to Tom, I'm like, man, you know what? I think we had it wrong. I think Jerry was the actual villain.
The Simpsons understood that with Itchy and Scratchy.
The Itchy and Scratchy show. All right, so
number 19.
Number 19. What's your number 19?
So number 19. This is again one of those villains that just his look, and this was from way back in the day because I went to watch this movie in the theater, so it really impacted me. He might not be the most well-rounded character, and there's not a lot of depth to him for sure, but just his look and the threat that he invoked was fantastic, and that's Vigo from Ghostbusters 2, which is one of the most.
I like that. I like you went there. I like you went there, man. I really like that you went there.
That painting, man. You remember that painting,
bro? Wait 1 second. Just chill, because that's, as a kid, scared the living gazulis out of me, man.
There it is, man. Look. Yeah, and bro, it gets more evil as the.
Wait. Did you remember Janusz Poha? Wait, remember Janusz Poha?
No.
Remember that really crazy guy with the foreign accent who was obsessed with the painting?
Yeah. Of course, man. That's the guy from Bean.
Yeah.
Yeah, that guy's hilarious.
Vigo is Vigo, the child.
So there's an interesting. This is obviously like the Vigo character is obviously an homage, if not a straight ripoff of Dracula. But the lore that they come up for him is sort of intriguing, and they do some novel things with it. I don't recall it perfectly, but I remember thinking, that's sort of neat. So he loses the vampire element, and he's more of like this evil, twisted sorcerer. And yeah, I think he's a much more, the Stay Puffed Marshmallow Man is visually interesting, but it's not that threatening. I think Vigo's a superior villain. And I would dare say that Ghostbusters 2, because of that, is a superior film.
No, for me, I've always said Ghostbusters 2 has a special place in my heart because for some reason in Nigeria, I watched it first. And I think it was I think we had the VHS of Ghostbusters 2, but we didn't have the VHS of Ghostbusters 1. Because we had a really weird thing where we had the VHS of all the parts 2. So I watched this first. And also the Bobby Brown song as well. But I think also, do you know what stays into my mind is remember when they're in the Statue of Liberty and they're going through the ocean? That scares the living crap out of me. I was like, do you know how worrying I'm? But you see, I think you're right. Marshmallow Man was just like a comedic thing. This dude was scary. This dude, remember the scene when you see in the painting and you see him sort of slightly move in the painting?
Yeah.
That was freaky. That was freaky.
And there was some freaky witch lady as well towards the end of the movie. But she was in quite as scary as Vigo. But
which lady? Wait, which lady was that?
Sorceress or something that they fight at the end. I mean, my memory's a bit muddy on that. I need to catch up on. I need to rewatch Ghostbusters 2 again because I distinctly remember it being my favorite of the two, and I loved both movies. But yeah, probably also because I went to watch it in theaters, and Ghostbusters, the original one, it predated me a little bit. And this is one of the first movies I recall watching in theaters.
Yeah, no. I think I definitely loved, like for me, Ghostbusters 2 just sort of it just sort of felt much more fun to me than Ghostbusters 1. I mean, what I will admit is that Ghostbusters had a great script, but Ghostbusters 2 just for me it just seared into me a lot more. And I think in terms of just fear of how scary a villain is, Vigo is probably one of the most underrated villains in terms of just evoking a sense of fear. All right, so my number 19. So my number 19, again, this is a famous one. And this is a big one. And I think this is one that everyone knows and everyone loves. So my number 19 is Smith, Mr. Anderson. Pleased to see you, Mr. Anderson. Smith. Look, Hugo Weaving really produced an iconic villain. And it's funny because, when you now think about, because I remember reading an interview, they were asking like, okay, how did you think about wanting to do this villain? And he said that he watched newsreaders and he saw how monotonous newsreaders were, and he mimicked the monotony of newsreaders to form the kind of speech pattern and the characterization of the character of Smith. And I think that it was so out of left field in terms of how a villain is presented, rather than the whole twisting the mustache. I'm like, oh, I'm too evil. Or like, oh, wow, this is like just that really boring, stoic, one-dimensional teacher, but he's just the antithesis to Neo in the film. So,
but it's not. I will say that it's a fantastic interpretation, but I will say it's not wholly original because Half-Life, the video game, I'm not sure if you're familiar.
I haven't played Easy. I haven't played Half-Life. I haven't played Half-Life.
Okay, but the villain is very similar to Mr. Anderson, and also I feel like. Yeah, it's within the sort of the same mold. The Smoking Man from the X-Files, you remember?
I haven't seen all the episodes of X-Files, so.
Okay. Yeah, but it's sort of like an archetype of like the suited figure that's very corporate, but they're like a villain. I feel that Agent Smith is the apotheosis of that, but and Weaving drew from something that was already coalescing. And created this fantastic character that doesn't feature in my list. So it's cool that this is one that probably I may have found a space to slot him in if I thought about it more.
Actually, let's take a few things. So I still need to watch the Ghostbusters. So if somebody who hasn't seen Ghostbusters, how would you sort of describe it if you haven't seen Ghostbusters?
How would I describe it?
For someone who hasn't seen it, like, how would you sort of sum it up for somebody who's never seen Ghostbusters?
Dude, it's like an ensemble comedy with the supernatural element that's really well fleshed out. Apparently Dan Aykroyd, who's one of the main actors, was big into the occult, really big, and all the occult references in the movie, even though it's sort of geared for kids, are all like legit.
No, but because I think because it was Dan Aykroyd and Hal Ramos who sort of came up with the concepts and the idea. Because they're the guys that wrote the script and sort of. But I think no, for me, Ghostbusters, I think it's about the writing. Like the strength of Ghostbusters is very, very well written.
And the concept is amazing. We take it for granted.
Yeah, great concept. Great. I mean, basically, great concept.
They're like firemen, but instead of firemen, they're hunting ghosts. Oh, I got a ghost. Call the Ghostbusters.
Yeah, no, but I think it's so much of, even if Bill Murray is such a specific, unique kind of comedian. I just think that the way it's written and how good, because a lot of the jokes is really from situational comedy, but also words that are being said and how guys respond to situations. Because as you said, it's like firemen. So it's about a bunch of regular dudes fighting ghosts. So it's the kind of high concept sci-fi thing, but with a very grounded situational comedy kind of aesthetic, which is just what makes it unique and good. So Ghostbusters is it's
and a lot of characters that complement each other. That they all represent. There's the nerd type. There's the cool, like devil may care type in Bill Murray. There's all sorts of different. They thought out the characters really well.
No, for sure. If this was football villains, he'd be my number one. But this isn't football villains. But if it was football villains, then this guy called ... who missed an open goal at a World Cup would be my number one villain. So number 18, Mr. Machine.
All right. So to keep with the whole visual thing, this is one of the villains that most impressed me from a purely visual and like a sensorial aspect, and that's Lord of Darkness.
From what
Legend. Ridley Scott's.
I haven't seen Legend. I haven't seen Legend. I haven't seen Legend. I mean, it is definitely on my, because this one with Val Kilmer, isn't it?
No, it's with Tom Cruise.
Oh, sorry, Legend. Okay, yeah. Sorry.
And this thing, it's just first of all, it's some kind of all-time, one of the most impressive feats in terms of makeup artistry. That they took this guy that's like this meek, a very weaselly guy in Tim Curry, and transformed him into like the Lord of Darkness. And they gave him like these gigantic horns that I don't know how
that looks freaky.
Yeah, it's amazing, man. It's amazing. The voice as well, man. The voice, they got it. They nailed it. Absolutely.
Wow. Because I remember when Legend came on, I began to sort of watch it. And I was like, okay, but for some reason I didn't finish it. But I was like, oh, because isn't this Ridley Scott?
This is Ridley Scott, and we all know that Ridley Scott's a very visual director, and it's visuals. This may be after Alien, the most visually impressive film of his. I wish we could share a clip of this guy speaking.
Nah, man. YouTube will get my ass, man. But see, now that you've said this, I'm now very. This is definitely firmly on my. See, I wish you didn't pick this because this would have been a crazy surprise watching this.
Yeah,
knowing, but still, like, just based on seeing, I'm like, because
there's another surprise. There's another surprise in the movie.
Okay, then not to know, because see, for me, like
I'm not going to spoil anything, but it's a monstrous creation that's just as visually impressive as this one.
Yeah, no, because I know it's Ridley Scott and it's like dark fantasy. I'm like, and this is the villain. I'm like, my God, what the hell is? And also, just to keep in that it's Ridley Scott who is concocting this.
Yeah, and in keeping with Ridley Scott, there's always all these different director's cut and all these alternative takes. There's two soundtracks to this movie. One of them for the European audience, and the other one is for the American audience. And the American version is, if I recall correctly, is the superior one, and totally changes. It's amazing how soundtracks, scores, totally change the mood of a film in your movie-going experience. And this is a testament to that, this movie.
Okay. So my number 18. This is I think I'm not sure whether you have this one, but you might, based on how I know you think, you may have this one. But this guy is just an iconic character. So, and you really cannot have a thing without having Homeboy in here. And my number 18 is Biff.
Oh.
My number 18 is Biff. I mean, this I think his performance in this is very, very underrated, and I think especially because I want to bring up this one I want to bring up what he looks like, because I think, look, in part one he was amazing, but I think what really sold it for me was what he did in part two. And it's funny that many people sort of liken him to Trump, and they sort of say that Back to the Future sort of predicted the whole Trump thing because he becomes president, he looks like Trump and everything, and he's a crazy megalomaniac and so forth. I still don't really see that much of a similarity, really, because I think Biff is more crazier than Trump. Trump is just much more wieldy and more.
But you have to see the similarity, man. Look at that.
Sorry, wait.
But you have to see a similarity.
No, there is, for sure. No, there is. No, but did Trump sort of get an almanac in the past
that we know of? No, that we know of.
Maybe he did. Maybe maybe we are in a timeline where this is a Trump timeline where he gave himself an almanac to make himself super rich and maybe make himself president.
I'm sure QAnon will reveal everything in due course.
But look, I mean, Biff was like Back to the Future. It's an amazing film. It's a super film. But I just think the foil to Marty and Doc, specifically Marty, being Biff, really gave that film, because again, I think a hero is only as good as his villain, and I think he was just the perfect foil for an iconic hero in Marty. And I think that's another really good list that we should do: top 10 heroes.
Yes, for sure. Marty McFly
movie heroes, because like Marty McFly is 100% on the. So yes, so my number 18 is
amazing. I'm glad that and he's a very meek, sort of small guy in stature, and of course, like having a physically imposing guy like Biff to foil him.
It's like the whole Spider-Man Venom thing. Todd McFarlane said like no, he doesn't want Venom to be like this. He wants Venom to be like this. He wants him to be physically imposing to thing, which is why that whole thing of Wolverine and Sabretooth is key, because Sabretooth is more physically imposing than Wolverine, and Wolverine is the shorter guy going up against the more physically taller, brawnier Sabretooth. So that's has always been like a key thing, like the whole dichotomy of their physicalities. So yeah, right. So number 17.
Number 17 is Zero Wolf.
Zero who?
Zero. Just put him on Google, man. You'll know.
So how do you so it said Zero Wolf.
Zero Wolf.
Sorry, I don't understand.
Wolf. I said
Google and the assistant showed up and she's saying, "Sorry, I don't understand."
From Apocalypto.
From Apocalypto, yes. The chieftain.
This is a good one.
In charge of taking Jaguar Paw for. He enslaves him and he takes him back to.
That's a good one. That's
Citadel, and then Jaguar Paw. First of all, Apocalypto is one of the greatest movies of all time.
Yes.
I would say it's the greatest chase movie of all time. Mad Max is a chase movie. This last one, Fury Road, and it's a masterpiece. But I would say that Apocalypto edges it. And there's a few other chase movies that we could talk about, but this is the absolute high watermark for that sort of subgenre, and it's such an amazing time. It feels like a time capsule. It feels like it's one of those movies that's extremely transportive, and you feel like you're actually living in those times, And this guy, just from the very first second you see him, you're like, oh shit, this guy means business. This guy would crack my skull in two if he saw me out in the jungle for no reason other than to collect my scalp, and he wouldn't even bat an eye. And that's what you want from a villain. And once Jaguar Paw escapes, you know that this guy's so badass. It feels you're not totally sure that Jaguar Paw is going to escape this guy's wrath. You know what I mean? Because the guy is
no. I think it's like, again, like, I love chase movies, but chase movies are very reliant, obviously, on the directing, because a chase movie is a very technical thing. But I think the beauty about this was you feared for the hero because of the kind of singular kind of motion that Zero Wolf had. Because Zero Wolf was like, no. I have almost like one goal in life, which is to get this dude. And I think a very key thing is what they even say in movies is your eyes. The eyes are the most important, probably one of the most important parts of an actor, especially if you don't have any dialogue. And because Zero Wolf doesn't have much dialogue, his face and the facial acting is very important in telling you what he's about without him actually uttering any words.
Absolutely, he just looks like an alpha male, back when that's what mattered the most, and very stoic as well. So like, there's a nobility to him, even though he's like absolutely vicious. There's a certain nobility to him, and that's expressed in his interactions with his son. He's a warrior. That's the thing. There's another villain in this movie that I might have even featured as well, but he edged him, he topped him, and that's Middle Eye. He's more of a chaotic evil, sort of. He's like actually pure evil, whereas Zero Wolf isn't. There's an ability to him, like I said. The other guy, he's just out to like torture people, and he enjoys seeing others suffer. Which there's something to that when you're trying to like see whether or not you prefer this villain or the other one. It's two different interpretations. It's like I would say it's similar to the Buffalo Bill Hannibal Lecter thing.
Yeah.
Lecter
it's different kinds of villains, man.
Yeah, totally different types of villains. But Hannibal Lecter, he's just as much of a psychopath, but there's a nobility to Hannibal Lecter. You know what I mean? And with that's not afforded to Buffalo Bill.
Okay, so and since now I don't want you to answer this, so don't answer this, but I will answer this. But you don't answer this. It was hard coming up. I didn't have him on my list.
Yeah, man, I almost did as well.
I didn't have him on my
list. But yeah, I don't, man.
That's a really good shout.
It's an amazing shout.
That's because this dude was evil as F. This dude was evil as F. Magneto wasn't on my list, and he was never really a consideration for me. Magneto was never a consideration for me on this list.
You know who was to me? You know who was to me? Not Magneto. And I know you weren't a fan of the movie, which I don't know why. I think you need to rewatch it. But William Stryker from X.
Oh yeah, Bran Cox.
Brian Cox was amazing, and
Yeah. But also, just say, guys, remember, if you're here, like the vid, hit the like button, like the vid. We will, even if you've just come into the stream, once this video is done, we will put the lists of both of our top 20s in the comments below. So I'm gonna do a pinned comment of both of our top 20 lists. So even if you miss it, once this video goes through, I will put in, like, in the description, our top 20 lists, and I'll put it in as a pinned comment, so you can sort of see a good look. So even if you're coming in midway through, and also at the end, we'll do a run through at the end of our top 20, and I will put it in the comments below. So
sorry, man, I don't want to interrupt, but can I just respond to somebody in the chat that said, Valvina asks, whatever happened to Ridley Scott? Has he fallen off recently, and how good was he in his heyday? I think he's one of the greatest directors of all time, to me. He's in my top 5, and he was amazing back in the day. But you're absolutely right. He's sort of called it quits creatively. But that happens to everyone. I think any director, if you have like 3 great movies in your CV, then you're one of the all-timers.
No, but do you know what I say about Ridley Scott? He's never really lost it. It's just that it's about the writer.
Yeah, but The Martian is terrible, man.
No, it's okay. The Martian isn't his greatest piece of work, but The Martian is much better than flipping Prometheus. I'll tell you that. So, and I see the issue with Prometheus is you've got a dude called Damon Lindelof, who is a complete moronic writer, who just messed up that film. But I think Ridley Scott, I just think that, look, even a film today, he will still give you some scenes that are just outstanding. That because nobody likes a scene better than Ridley Scott, so he'll still give you that. Just that he's missing the right scripts. But what I will say is that he does make some poor decisions, and some of the decisions he made for the Alien Covenant and Prometheus were poor. But his legacy is already set. I mean, this dude made arguably the most influential sci-fi film of all time in Blade Runner, and Gladiator is probably the best made film of that kind of genre ever. So he's already historic. My number 17. I don't think you would have thought of this one, but I know for sure you've seen this film. But I don't think that you have thought of this one. So my number thingy is Nurse Ratched. Remember her?
I absolutely remember her.
Yep. She epitomizes the term bitch. So in case some of you don't know, I believe Jack Nicholson's first Oscar was for One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest, and it's pretty much about a film where he somehow finds himself in this kind of like mental asylum, and he's sort of like the kind of cool leadership guy amongst this group of completely crazy mental people. And this nurse is the head of this mental asylum, and she does everything in her power to stop the kind of individual freedom and fun that these guys in this mental asylum are trying to have. And when you just watch because I believe she won an Oscar for her performance as well. Because once you're just into the story, you get into the characters, and you see what she does just to remove all the fun from the kinds of things she does. I'm like, my God. And again, a different kind of villain, not the extravagance with a big flowing cape and everything. This is a more realistic villain, because I've dealt with people like this. I've had teachers like this.
You see it all the time. Typically SJWs. But here's another example that I'll give you of this archetype that we all know exists. First,
the original Karen.
Exactly. Another example is the Misery.
Someone mentioned that. Yeah, someone mentioned
Kathy
that.
Bates. Misery.
Yeah, she won an Oscar for that. Like amazing with them. What's what James Caan.
On James Caan, exactly. I mean, it's
Yeah.
the same sort of. They could be related. You know.
Yeah, no, but it's yeah, very very similar. Like they're very similar, which is the fact of like, because you see, the reason why I didn't go for Kathy Bates in Misery, and that is a superb performance.
It's too bubbly. It's too bubbly.
No, it's not that. She wasn't evil. She was just confused. So she was just a very disturbed, confused person. This woman is evil. Like she is fully sane. She knows what she's doing, and she is just trying to be. Basically, like why she's so amazing is she's probably the most relatable, believable villain like on my list. Because it's like, oh my God, I know people like this who, whatever has happened in your life, maybe you've not really been fulfilled in your life, whether sexually or non-sexually or whatsoever, and you're taking out that rage on someone else who had nothing to do with what you're doing. So, like,
I had a teacher like this.
You get so worked up and pissed off when she's doing her thing, man. But yeah.
Yeah, I was saying that I had a teacher like this in London when I was studying in London. And the other thing that's really cool about this character and unique is that she wins. She wins.
People haven't seen it. In case some people trust me, there are people who haven't seen the film.
Well, she correct.
There are people who haven't. So no, but look, it was one that really stuck in my mind, man. Like even because I remember there was a big deal made about this thing. Then when I finally saw the film and saw a character, like, oh my God, yeah, it lives up to the hype. It lives up to the hype.
I'm absolutely with you. All right,
okay, so I think we're now on number 16 now. But before we go there, why? I want to know this actually. Why is Machine called Machine if he isn't a machine, or is he? Why are you called Machine?
Machine Elf is my nickname, right? And it's these things. There's this ethnobotanist philosopher that I was obsessed with in my youth, named Terence McKenna, and he was big on this thing called DMT, which Joe Rogan talks about a lot as well. You know. But Terence McKenna is the first guy that really started speaking about it widely. And one of the things that there's a shared experience in the people that take DMT, and they all say that they look at these alien-like creatures that Terence McKenna described as machine elves. So, that's where I took the moniker from.
Wow, interesting. Machine Elf. Mr. Elf, can you please give us your number 16?
Yeah, my number 16 is a cat named Lo Pan.
Lo Pan. Why does that ring a faint bell? Hey!
It's the villain from this amazing movie called Big Trouble in Little China. And the reason why I put him in there is, I've always been a really big fan of the Yellow Peril style villains like Fu Manchu and Fing Fang Foom. And Iron Man's the Mandarin, which they totally botched up in Iron Man 3. So, these are the types of villains that, enjoy while we can, because in this hyper politically correct world, you're never going to see him again. And in fact, that's why you didn't see that in Iron Man 3, because they wanted to they wanted to escape from the whole Yellow Peril, negative racial connotations. But there's something about this type of character that invokes a certain mystical fear in me. Not fear, but when I was a kid, for sure, fear. But there's just something really compelling and really that really draws me to this style of villain. And also, he happens to have the coolest henchman of all time,
Mm.
which inspired Raiden from Mortal Kombat.
Oh yeah. No, I mean, like, this is about villains, so it's not really about films. But again, for me, one of the most underrated partnerships is Kurt Russell and John Carpenter, because they have together made some amazing films. And this is because this film, like, it's so wacky, so out there, mixes so many genres, and what was it called? Jack Burton.
Yeah, Jack Burton's one of the coolest.
So I think when he says that, like, you know what Jack Burton always says? Who? Jack Burton? Me? What the hell?
No, he's one of the coolest protagonists of all time because if you notice, he doesn't do anything in the movie. He just looks cool. The real hero is
it's basically, it is genius. He's useless.
He's absolutely useless.
So, but that's what's missing. No, but I want to stick to the villain. No, I think he was. I forgot the name of this actor's name, but he was a massive staple in the 80s. So almost if there was any film that required
an Asian.
James Hong. James Hong is his name. James Hong. If there was any film that required a villain that was Asian, boom, it was him. It was him. Like, he was literally like the go-to kind of Asian villain guy in all of them. So basically, it's just almost impossible that you've seen a film with an Asian villain and this dude hasn't been there. Like, he's been just like the main dude that's been there. So yeah, man, I mean, no, that's a good one. Lopan. And also, guys, if you haven't seen Big Trouble in Little China, man, I highly recommend it. All right. This one is going to please you, machine, but it will piss you off at the same time. So you'll be happy, and I think you'll be pissed off as well at the same time. All right, let's do this. So this is another top villain. Another top villain who many people will say is one of the top villains out there. My number 16 is, okay, let me just change the banner.
Yeah, you're absolutely right about my reaction. Yes. Yeah.
Yep. Look, you have to put him in here, and I think a lot of people who are obviously diehard fans, pun intended, will wonder why isn't he much higher up. And for me, you'll basically see the names that are there, because again, I did this based on villainy and how evil you were. I just think that there are more people more evil than him, but that still being said, you can't have a top 20 villain list without him being. He is one of the most, I'll put it this way, he is definitely one of the most beloved villains, if that sort of makes sense, because I know that you're not supposed to love villains, but as big as Bruce Willis was from that film, literally as much as people talk about John McClane, they talk about Hans Gruber as well, you know. And I think I always forget this actor's name. Again, rest in peace and everything. Can you remember his name?
Alan Rickman.
I don't know. I always forget his name. Yeah, Alan Rickman. I think like he did a really good job with it. Actually, I don't know whether you know this. I think we mentioned this in our podcast. You know when he falls?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was actually him falling. Yeah.
That's his real reaction, because like he wasn't told when he was going to fall down, so that's his real reaction. But yeah, look, Hans Gruber. Like, basically, I know I know that he's on your list, so you don't have to say too much. Because I know that he'll definitely be on your list. So, but for me, yeah, look,
you know that I think it's too low.
What is
Good
it?
choice. I'm glad you included him, but I do think it's too low.
No, look, I understand this is why it's that you'd be happy and you'd be pissed off, but I feel that I have very good reasons why the other dudes I have are much higher up, man. So we'll see. So that
Okay.
is my number 16. So oops, sorry. So now time for your number 15.
And my
If
number,
right?
keeping continuing with the Asian element is Han.
Han.
Han from from a movie I'm sure you're familiar with, from Enter the Dragon.
Okay, okay.
So what I love about this dude is that he's basically a Bond villain, but a Bond villain that actually gets down and dirty and looks like he could fuck you up, And he's got all the trappings of a Bond villain. He's got this massive lair full of henchmen to do his doing. He's got a drug, which is a drug den, by the way. And then, and the other thing that's amazing about it is that he keeps the bones of his severed hand in display in a museum, like along with other torture weapons.
Mm.
And then at the end, when Bruce Lee that's one of the coolest like climaxes of all time in fighting sequences, not because of the choreography or anything, but because it's so ingeniously put together, and just the idea of the set piece of this mirrored, of Bruce Lee entered this mirrored hall of illusions.
Oh, no. It's very visually strong for sure.
Yeah, and then you know, every time like Han gets his ass kicked a little bit, he switches weapons. Like he gets like a bear claw at one point. He's like, and he changes his fighting style as well.
Yeah, because I haven't seen this in ages though.
Dude,
I think I've only seen this film once. And
yeah.
can I make a confession? People will hate me for this, but it is what it is. I don't rate Enter the Dragon that highly. Look, Machine, you've said some crazy things as well. But yeah, like for me, you know what it is? Let me watch it again. But I know after I watch, I was about to say, is this film really as good as people say it is? I'm like, okay, it's decent, but I didn't see what the hype was. But you know what? I watched it ages ago, long time ago. So maybe I need to watch it again.
Watch it again. Watch it again. It's got such a cool, also like a cool, those those spy thrillers, which Bond is like the biggest icon of that. But in the '70s, early '70s, late '60s, there was like a spy genre, and like that had a particular music and everything. And this is sort of like that. It has some of those feelings. That's why Han is like a Bond villain when you think about it. Oh, and I love that he gets. By the way, I love that the way that he dies is he gets impaled on his own, like a lance.
Oh yeah. No. Oh, yeah, no, that was brutal. That was brutal. Oh no. For me, I think no. This is it's a decent pick. I wouldn't. So let me ask you this then: is he really that great a villain, or is he just benefiting off being in an iconic film?
It's not even the iconic film thing. It's the look of the villain and the fact that you only really see him at the end. I mean, you see him in bits, right? And the way that he's built up. There's also like this guy named Bolo, who's his henchman, who shows up in all different kinds of martial arts movies, including Van Damme. He went all the way to like Van Damme. He's in Bloodsport. He's the villain of Bloodsport. Remember Bloodsport?
Oh, bro, come on, man. Of course I do.
So he's in Enter the Dragon, right? And he's this guy's main enforcer. And yeah, dude, I don't know why it is that this guy, engrosses me so much. This villain, but I remember really, being drawn by his figure back in the day, and I still am. And I watched Enter the Dragon recently, and I was like, man, this is an amazing villain. Very well.
Okay. Okay. So that is Mr. Machine's number 15. And again, look, I'll put my hands up. I need to watch Enter the Dragon again. I need to watch it again so I can have like a updated view on the film, But again, I have my own views about Bruce Lee. Okay, look, give me Jet Li over, give me Jet Li, or no, give me Donnie Yen over Bruce Lee. But that's just me.
Something that the Sentinel said, which is he's absolutely spot on. That Enter the Dragon, see it as a kung fu doctor. No, that's exactly what it is.
So, when the film was made in '72, just as James Bond turned 10 years old as a franchise, to see it as a kung fu. Oh, okay. And I mean, see, that's always key. It's always key to look at films when they were made. See, for me, very few films live up to the massive hype of when people talk about them. Very few films do. Like the only films that have lived up to the hype that people talked about them that I can think of was probably Blade Runner. It's the one that I think where it was super hyped, and I was like, oh wow, this is as good as what people say it is. So maybe I need to just watch it again, older, new head, and then appreciate it. But it is also important to really understand, okay, when was this film made? Where does it sit within the kind of, what impact did it have based on its release, which is always a very important thing to take into account. So, my number 15, let me just say, so 20, 19, 18, 17, 16. This is another popular one. And I'm just going to put it in. I'm just going to put it in. It is, have you ever danced with the devil on a pale moonlight? Joker. And I was careful here. Now, let me just say this. I don't think I have quoted a character more times than this in my life. Gotham City always brings a smile to my face. So it's like, this is just quotable upon quotable. But the funny thing is, people say, wait a minute, why would you pick Jack Nicholson's Joker and not Heath Ledger's Joker? See, for me, Heath Ledger's Joker was almost similar to like Thanos, where it's like he's very characterized. And I think that Heath Ledger's Joker suffers with the writing. Forget about the acting and everything. Acting is off the chain. But I think the writing just made him, I was like, okay, are you a psychopath? Are you a sociopath? Are you a genius? It was too much. This was a straight up psycho. Completely. Like this dude was just mad. Where you literally don't know what this dude could do because he was so random, which is just what made him so scary. It's not, because if you think about it, do you know why he did what he did? Because Batman was more popular than him. All he wanted was to be more popular than Batman in the newspaper. So he was pissed off that Batman was more popular. So that's what made him angry. So that is the 101 of complete psychotic lunacy. So yeah, for me, Jack Nicholson's Joker gets this.
Okay.
All right.
Good shout.
So we're on 14 now, aren't we?
We're on 14, yeah. So my number 14 choice is Louis Cyphre.
Looney Cyphre? Who the heck is
Louis Cyphre, but Louis as in Louis Cyphre.
Oh, okay. Interesting. So I think this is a Angel Heart.
Angel Heart, exactly, which is one of the great all-time horror thrillers. Mickey Rourke's.
Yeah. So basically, I think, remember, don't give too much away.
Mickey Rourke's greatest performance, but how can I speak about this character without giving it away? Really?
Yeah. But see, just talk about his performance, because if you do, you will give away a key part. of it
Yeah,
if you see too much.
this is back when De Niro actually still was in it to win it, and he constructed a villain that's very enigmatic, very poised, and very intriguing. But you can feel the menace with everything that in every scene that he's in. Even though you may be just having a seemingly casual conversation, you can feel that there's something off about him and something simmering underneath
No, I mean, basically, I remember basically that's egg scene with the
Yes,
egg.
fantastic scene. Yeah, I think that's his best scene.
Yeah.
I think
That's the scene.
where it gets you like asking a lot of questions as the audience, as the viewer.
No. Look, man, trippy film, man. That's a trip. Again, guys, if you haven't, man, Angel Hearts. Watch Angel Hearts, which is, I mean, I may bring that up in the Double H Cinema Club, man. Get you guys to watch Angel Heart.
Yeah. Hey, there's something cool for us to watch together, man. A watch party.
Yeah, actually, yes. You know what? Yes, let's do that because I haven't seen that in a while, and I definitely want to watch it again.
Alan Parker.
Yeah, let's do that. Let's do that.
The man who directed that, Alan Parker, is one of the great unsung heroes of.
Did he do the thing with Tim Robbins?
He did the Midnight Express. He did
no.
Bird, which is an amazing film.
Also, what's it called? Jacob's Ladder.
Jacob's Ladder as well. Yes.
Yeah. Basically, he has great. Basically, his visual sense is amazing. Okay. That's. So let me just. Okay, look here. Bob Gunn. I'm gonna mention it alone, boys. Yeah, basically that's from Think About Jig, man. But you see, again, I am not taking anything away from what Heath Ledger did as the Joker, but when I think of the Joker, I think of Jack Nicholson's Joker. Like, that is the Joker. Heath Ledger was more crazier technical acting, but Jack Nicholson embodied the idea of the Joker a lot more. So this is my number 14. All right, let's pull up this list. My number 14 is oopsie daisy. Ooh, you guys will like this. You guys will like this one. Okay, all right, let me just get the right thingy and then you guys can see it. Aha, there we go. Yeah, we go, beautiful. So again, a very, very big time dude. It is Zod. You got to roll with Zod. Again, I must always tell this story.
Wasn't he in Greece?
Was he in Greece?
No, I'm joking. I was saying like that this character was in Greece. Because it looks like it's such a 70s thing,
Oh yeah. No. But see, I don't know what it is, but I think I still have a sheet of paper where that is signed by Zod. He literally signed it Zod. I'm sorry, there in stamp. Did I tell you that story that I got his autograph?
Zod's?
Yeah, him. Did I tell you that story?
No, you didn't. No. Usually the story is that you approach the actor and you haven't said anything, and they're like, no, excuse me, no, I'm actually on my day off. Yeah.
Oh yeah. No. That's more on Tom Hiddleston. But so basically, so have you been to London before?
I have. I lived in London for a year.
Wait, so do you remember Green Park?
No.
So basically that's sort of near where the Buckingham Palace is.
I remember nightclubs.
Okay, yeah, obviously, yeah. But so basically, I was just outside of the area, and this was outside Starbucks. I was like, oh my gosh, wait a minute, that's the dude from Superman. But I didn't want to approach him because I didn't know what his name was. I forgot his name was Terrence Stamp. I only knew that he was Zod. So since it's going to be pretty stupid if I go up to him and I don't know what his name is, and ask for an autograph. I say, you know what, I can't not get Zod's autograph. This is like my childhood. So I said, you know, F it. So I go up to him and he's with this lady and everything. And I say that, are you Zod? And he said, yes. And he literally signs my sheet of paper, Zod. I was
No
like,
way.
you know, this guy's a G. This guy's a G. Because yeah, I didn't remember his name, but he was like, he was like, cool, yep, I'm Zod. Yeah, but so the one because he said like the one with a smile. I was like, yeah. Oh no. So see, for me, Zod in Man of Steel could have been amazing because I'm a huge fan of Michael Shannon, and he actually did a really good job. He did an amazing job. It's just that he was being directed by a complete moron called Zack Snyder, who doesn't know how to direct a film. With a different director, for instance, let's say a Mel Gibson, a different director, you would have had. I think Michael Shannon would have done a better job. So Michael Shannon would have done a better job as Zod under a different director and under a different direction, but still, I think Terrence Stamp, what he did in Superman 2, knew before Zod. I mean,
Yeah, it's also, I don't think in terms of direct, I think it's the script that in Man of Steel that was most at fault for not taking advantage of Michael Shannon, who's a pretty good actor. And
he's damn good.
A pretty ingenious casting choice for Zod, you know.
What's it called? He said like, no, but let me be very clear here. I wasn't going to ask him for an autograph. I literally just approached him. Before I could say anything, he was like, "Sorry, I'm on my day off. Like, this is out of working hours." I was like, "Mate, there are 5 guys here. You ain't that big. Cool. You go low-key. Sign the damn autograph. Do the damn photo, and don't be an uppity prick, man." So why is Machine biting a poker chip?
It's not. It's a bottle cap.
Oh, I was about to say like you have it like kind of like residual things.
It would be if it was a poker chip. Shall we go to my 14?
Yes, let us go to your. This is number 13.
And 13, and it's my main man, Emperor Palpatine. What? Why so shocked? All right, so like,
do you know why this is good? Do you know why this is good?
What?
Because now it's like, who are the dudes you now have above him? Because okay, spoiler alert, he's on my list, but he's much higher on my list. Wow. Okay. 13? So there are 12 guys more evil than Emperor Palpatine.
It's not about just evil. It's about like what I feel.
What?
The effect that they have as a villain, and I'll say this. I think we agree that Emperor Palpatine is levels above Darth Vader. And one of the reasons why as a villain, not as a character, I think the Vader character is a lot more multidimensional and well constructed. But he's nowhere near as threatening, especially as portrayed in A New Hope, where he's basically just some low-level henchman.
No, wait, my machine, please. None of those things should be mentioned. We're not mentioning any of those unlimited power. No, please. The prequels are not mentioned, and also Rise of Skywalker doesn't exist in this story.
But that's where you're wrong, because I see it as a character, and I feel that just in the same way that Darth Vader as a character was depreciated in my estimation with the prequels and with the sequels, and not with the sequels because he doesn't feature. With the prequels, the same holds true for Emperor Palpatine. If he'd have just lived inside the capsule that is, the OT, then that's fine. But no, the character kept going on and being effectively shat on in the prequels and in the sequel. Man, this last one, they really made him into.
Bro, Machine, you're getting butchered in the comments, man. Said not even top 10. Palpatine is this low. Basically, I want to see the 12 dudes you have above Emperor freaking Palpatine.
Okay.
I am gagging to know. All right, okay then. So my number 13, let me pull up this man list. Oh my god. Life has a funny way. Life has a funny way. Life has a really, really funny way. Sorry. So my number, let me just load it up. My number 13. So I think it's now time for guys to now come and hit at me. See, my thing is this, look. Can we be real? Vader was only a villain in one film. One film. Supreme iconic was one film. But if we take the entirety of the character of what we're giving, because again, the prequels and the sequels from me don't matter. The only Star Wars films that exist are those three films. First film, he was just a bully. So he was like a henchman, and that was it. 2, he was a fully fledged villain, one of the best ones I've ever seen. In 3, he was a reformed criminal. So the Darth Vader in its entirety wasn't really as evil or as villainous as possible. A great character, an amazing character, but as a villain, a true villain, a true baddie, I can't put him on that list. And the other 10 I've got here are far more mean and more villainous than Homie. So that's my thing. So Vader for me is my number 30. And I know that people will come on, man. Hey, look, it is what it is, man. It is what it is. Is this the most memed villain, by the way? It might be. It might be. I think he probably means that by Emperor. So do you think I'm too low with Vader? Wait, is Vader on your list?
Vader's not on my list, no. No, for me, the villain of the Star Wars films is the Emperor, and that's it. Vader's a cool character, but not in my top 20. He'd featured in my top 30, Vader.
Wait. But Machine, I don't see you. I don't see any wine near you. So obviously you're sober. So Vader's not on your list.
But you know that I was experimenting with some other mind-altering substances prior to. No, of course not. No, Vader's not on my list. No.
What's it called? Let me just address this. You see, for me, how much did we see of Vader in the first film?
Yeah, you don't see too much of it, but that's precisely why I think perhaps that's why he was a more effective villain. Not even more of a fascinating character in the first one.
Yeah, no. See, for me, like even in the first, because for me, I've always said that like A New Hope is my favorite Star Wars of all the three. Like I appreciate what Empire Strikes Back is, but New Hope has always been my favorite. But the key thing of A New Hope, the guys you remember are the trio. Those are the guys you remember are the trio of Luke, Leia, and Han. It's Empire where Empire is Darth Vader's film. That's the most iconic lines, iconic scenes, iconic imagery. New Hope is about the trio. It's about the band of brothers, the heroes. All Vader does is just against flipping Obi-Wan, and that's it. So
yes, and in the third one, he's slightly ruined to me. I hate that they showed his face. Not even that they showed his face, but that when they finally showed his face, it's some geriatric, obese nothing. What is he saying? Okay, man, I'm heading out. I'll be cleaning out, and prepping the wing in Siberia for Machine.
Bro, that is wild, man. You don't have Vader in a top 10 is great. You don't have Vader in a top 20?
In the top 20, no, but in the top 30, yes. In the top 30, yes.
Okay, let's move on. Okay, no, number 12, man.
Number 12, we can sort of skip this because you've already mentioned her. It's Nurse Ratched.
Oh,
Nurse
so Nurse Ratched is your number 12.
12 pick, and
so do you want to add anything more to it, or
really? I mean, it's you said it, you described it perfectly. It's the evil that we know, and the performance is absolutely stellar. You mentioned that she won an Academy Award. I didn't know that. Fully deserved, because she was so convincingly evil with just her look, just that manic, steely in the sense that it's like icy, that manic, icy look that's very, it's the ultimate bitch. It's a very female evil, very female evil. And we haven't seen it in cinema too often. I think Misery is the other example that we gave. I'm trying to rack my brain thinking of other examples we could list. But no, she's the top, man. She's the top.
No. Like, for that kind of character, I can't think of anyone better, because she obviously great script, great story, but she played it so well. She played it so well, and she was so convincing. I was like, it was tops. So, my number 12. Listener. So, okay, my number 12. One of this, I think I'd argue this is one of the most underrated villains for me. This was a really, really cool villain, and it is Frost from Blade.
Oh, it's a cool villain, yeah, for sure.
For me, I still to this day do not understand what's happened to Stephen Dorff and his career.
Can I tell you a funny story, man? It's not how there's like there's two celebrities that I keep running into in my life, no matter where I am, and one of them is Stephen Dorff. I've seen him in Milan. I've seen him in like 4 different places in LA. Man, forget it. The other one is Suge Knight, but yeah, he's one of them.
Ooh, what?
Yeah, man, I ran into Suge Knight all the time. It's crazy.
Wait. Machine, you can't just sort of. How do you run into Suge Knight all the time?
I did it in clubs and stuff. Like he just went to the same place. I guess we went to the same places. But
do you say anything to him?
No, I just sort of look from afar and hope he doesn't kill me.
Yeah, man. So basically,
like some building.
No, but look. Oh yeah. I think he does something nice.
He has like a massive posse around him. It's not just Suge Knight. It's Suge Knight and an army of dudes.
And his entourage. So basically, look, man, Stephen Dorff for me, I think Frost is a really, really good villain. I think what makes him a good villain is because of how seriously Stephen Dorff takes the role and how well he acts in the role. And I think when people watch Blade, I think people sort of, because I think it's so much about Snipes and his fighting and everything, people just forget just how good Stephen Dorff was as that character, because I think the character could have been really hammy or really cheesy. I think he brought a very good, nice depth to it, and it was a very great counterbalance to what your boy Snipe did. So yeah, my number 12 is Frost. So number 11.
And number 11 is Anton Chigurh.
I am desperate to know what are your.
But do you know who this is even?
No, he's on my list.
Oh, he's in your list. Okay, all right.
So I'm saying, like, man, I mean, this. Okay, wow. Because he's too low, but fair enough.
You think he's too low? All right, yeah. I thought this was
see
I
now
thought this was sort of
you
like
cannot see who's in your 10, man. Because
but-
how do you have 10 guys over Homeboy?
yeah. I thought that this was sort of like an askew pick, like something off the wall a little bit. I didn't know that he was widely perceived as one of the greatest villains, but that's the sense that I got watching No Country for Old Men. Immediately, it's just one of those all-time performances, one of the most commanding performances of all time. And I really actively dislike the Coen brothers. And
Yeah, it's like my brother's the same. Like my brother's not a big fan of the Coen brothers, and my brother was not a fan at all of the film when it came out.
The film, I'll tell you what, man, I love the film until it just said the Coen brothers decided to be the Coen brothers and gave us that ending where
Don't reveal too much. Don't reveal too much.
well, but somebody very important to the movie is dispatched off screen. All of a sudden, somebody gets a phone call. Oh, by the way, like this main guy that you've been rooting for is dead.
I swear, that is exactly the issue my brother had with it.
So stupid.
You can't do that. And for me, you know what I said? I said like, that's just I think that's an interesting, bold decision to make.
That's him. The Coen brothers trying to be quirky because they had something special in their hands. They could have had a masterpiece, and then they got funny with it. And they got oh, so special and intellectual, which there's nothing intellectual about that. But it's just them trying to be quirky for quirkiness' sake and idiosyncratic, But yes, it's a shame because until that point, the movie was fantastic, and this character in specific, with his coin shtick, this is the ultimate. This is the
original Two-Face.
They should have cast this guy as Two-Face. If he didn't have that accent, he would have been the perfect Harvey Dent.
No. You know what? Screw it. It's only a flipping comic book. Keep the accents.
Yeah, you're right. You're probably right.
I mean, who cares? Why does he have to know? Keep the accents, man.
You're probably right. You know what? People like to wax lyrical about Aaron Eckhart's performance as Two-Face. I think it's highly overrated. I think it's just him screaming.
Wait. Who?
Aaron Eckhart from The Dark Knight.
Machine. Have you seen what Aaron Eckhart looks like? Is that the guy that can do anything special?
No, but the thing is, like, the tragedy of it is that when the movie first came out, people were talking up Heath Ledger's Joker, but they were in the same sentence saying, and Aaron Eckhart as Two-Face is just as good, if not better. No. And I'm like, what are they on, man?
Oh, definitely true. He was really good in Skyfall, which is
he's a very good actor and
very good actor.
A very good actor, and he was amazing in Skyfall. Too bad the movie was shit.
What?
Yeah, I'm sticking to that. All these Daniel Craig Bond movies are a disaster for me. There's not a single one that I would say, even Casino Royale, which people rate highly.
No. Oh, wait. Since Skyfall is crap?
Skyfall is crap. Quantum of Solace is crap. Casino Royale is crap. All of them.
So what for you is the best James Bond film? Don't you dare say GoldenEye.
Oh, absolutely not GoldenEye. It's one of those old ones from the Roger Moore and Sean Connery.
Goldfinger.
Huh? Goldfinger. Man, I even like the Live and Let Die. All those zany ones. Even Pussy, Octopussy, I liked.
Okay, look, man. Let's.
Listen, I love the ones with Jaws and Odd Job, and the ones that had like a wacky.
Machine, you're wild, man. You are wild, man. You are wild, bro. Okay.
Way better than this super supposedly realistic Bond, where they removed every single interesting feature about him, from the inventions from the Q inventions. All the whimsical stuff from James Bond, and even the stuff that made him interesting, like he's an alcoholic and he's what do you call it? The feminizer. He's like he actually treats women like dirt. That's what makes the character interesting. You don't remove that from Bond. It's an indelible feature of his character. And because we're living in this politically correct world, they think that
No. But still, as a film, you can't deny how amazing Skyfall is.
how can you how can you hate on Christopher Nolan for his script writing and his exposition, and then you think Skyfall is good? Every single character's a statement of intent about what the movie means and stuff. It's like,
no, because Nolan's exposition is to a wild extreme. Skyfall's exposition is not to the same extreme as Nolan. No way, impossible. All right. My number 11 is a bit of a weird one. Oh wow! So my number 11 is a bit of a... Actually, let me just find it. So 2019... Oh, fuck it. 2019, 18, 17, 16, 15, 14, 13... Yep. It's Steven Seagal's character from Machete. So, have you seen Machete?
Jesus Christ, man. Oh, come on, all right. No, but you just give us your real choice now, man.
No. Okay, have you seen Machete?
Dude, I saw my shit. Just to look at this image, I don't need to see anything else, man.
Look, Steven Seagal. Because see, the funny thing about this is that this is easily his best acting performance, and this was an inspired decision because people just view Seagal as this crappy actor who could do martial arts in his films. But when you see, first of all, Machete is a really, really good film, really underrated film. This is the first film that Danny Trejo stars in. But Seagal's villain in this is flipping amazing. It is absolutely amazing. And just the way that he presents himself as the character, I was going to say, my gosh, like, why does he play the villain more in his films? So this is easily his best acting performance. And when you see this, you wonder why he isn't even a much more villain, man.
This is the most oddball choice of all time. I hope people murder you in the comments, for which they are.
Guys, don't hate on Seagal. Don't hate on Seagal.
The Sentinel says that Seagal's hairpiece is a better villain than he is, which I agree with.
Relax, just relax. Say no, but for me, no. See, Seagal.
Hold on, this guy is better than Nurse Ratched.
Yes.
This
yes. Because see, this is based on this is based. Look, bro, you can't talk. You don't even have Vader in your top 2. You had flipping Emperor.
This guy's better than Vader.
Let's get now to, because I want to now see the dudes you have higher than the Emperor. Who's your number 10?
All right, number 10 is, and I'm not sure if actually he's a little bit higher than he should be, but I remember this was very. He seared into my memory, man, and he's a very convincing psychopath, and that's Buffalo Bill, who we already mentioned, from Silence of the Lambs. And Silence of the Lambs is a very beloved classic, and people always throw out Anthony Hopkins' character, Hannibal Lecter, as one of the greatest villains of all time, which I agree he would be in my top 30 as well, along with Vader somewhere. But the one that really made me feel uneasy when I saw him was Buffalo Bill, because that's not a good, that's a funny, that's a funny picture. He looks like a twisted hairdresser that he looks like what you would think a real psychopath would be like, Somebody that could sort of, that's a good one. And the interpretation by this actor, I forget what the actor is, but it's one of the Alzheimer's men. I'm sorry. Was she a great big fat
No. No. He definitely had a very creepy voice, man, for sure.
Yeah, man. Just serial killers are a very fascinating topic to me. And you don't really see too many movies that capture like the evil that you sort of imagine in your mind that it is to be caught in their grip. And I think Silence of the Lambs captured that well with the poor senator's daughter, who's being tortured, and she's going to be flayed and eaten probably, and then used as a belt, which is inspired by the way, by a real life serial killer named Ed Gein, who would.
Oh, wow. So an actually real life crazy dude.
Yeah, Ed Gein from the 50s. He would flail people and skin them, and he was one of the one of the very first prominent serial killer cases that really captured people's imaginations. But the thing is, he would wear belts with people's nipples and stuff, and his chandeliers and his headlamps, his lamps were like made of skin and stuff. When people captured them, they realized that. And I think they took inspiration on Ed Gein with this Buffalo Bill character. And he was always the most unresting element of the Silence of the Lambs movie.
He was extremely unsettling, especially that final scene with Clarice was trippy.
Oh man, that scene where she goes in with the night vision. And,
No, look, man, shout out to also Jonathan Demme, man. Very, very nice, some quality direction, man. But he was a very unsettling villain, man. All right. My number 10. Now, guys, this is another one where most people may not have realized this or thought of this. I think this is linked into something that Machine sort of said before. Expendables 2, Van Damme. This is one of the most underrated villain performances. And the reason why people don't talk about this is because it's Van Damme. Expendables 2 was a okay film, very underwhelming. It's the best of the series, but underwhelming based purely for Sly. But easily the best part of this was Van Damme. And he's never played a villain. But similar to Seagal, the way he presents himself as a villain was, I said, no, this is flipping amazing. His performance in this, from his look, his acting, the delivery of his lines, his fighting, this was just, because as if Van Damme, I have to give my super best in this. And I just think that the way in which he just crushed this role was flipping iconic. Amazingly iconic. I think, he was superb.
So I think the Expendables is the most prominent case of wasted potential.
Van Damme.
No. Just the Expendables series in general, because they're dog average action films.
You see, Machine. I could go on a 2-hour rant on the wasted potential of Expendables. That should have been one of the great franchises, because it's an amazing idea. The hunger for that, the audience is there, but Sly is arrogant. And Sly's arrogance was, I want to be the main guy. I want us to compete with Marvel. In his infinite stupidity, he wanted to compete with Marvel. So instead of making a rated 18 violent film, he wanted to create like a Magnificent Seven with 60, 70-year-olds. I was like, wait, are you still, what?
Well, the other issue is that he directed him, if I'm not mistaken.
No. He directed the first one. He didn't direct this one. Part 2 was directed by someone else. Then he did the third one, I believe. But yeah, Part 2, which was the best one, was not directed by him. But yeah, the first one was a mess. Third was horrible.
The best, dude, and the best thing by far about this movie is Van Damme. But listen, I'm a huge Van Damme fan. I non-ironically love all of his movies, most of them anyway. And yeah, for me,
do you know what's funny? I believe that there are Seagal people and there are Van Damme people. Like, I'm not a big Van Damme fan. I'm not really a fan of his films. Even his films, but I just love Seagal. And because I love Seagal, I like his films. And I have a guy that I know who is a huge Van Damme fan, and he loves all his films. So I think that you're either a Van Damme guy or you're a Seagal guy. See, I'm more of a Seagal guy. So
I mean, Seagal just doesn't do it for me. Seagal, like, he does this and stuff.
No, see, there are people who are either or. You're either in the Van Damme camp or the Seagal camp. So
they almost had like a fight. Apparently, they almost came.
No, because Seagal on the Arsenio Hall show, Seagal claimed that Van Damme really doesn't have any of the martial arts qualifications that he claims he has. Like, he's pretty much like lying about his stuff.
But the only issue is that Seagal is like 6'4" or something. He's like a really tall, physically imposing guy. I would say that Van Damme actually has more martial arts cred than Seagal. Most of the shit that Seagal's come up with is total.
I mean, it's
out of his ass.
Look, Seagal is pretty good. Yeah, I mean, what's it called? Yeah, it was Simon West. Again, another very underrated film, Corner. Very underrated film.
There's this really funny thing now that we're on the Seagal topic. His ego is so out of control that he's incapable of. He actually tries to pretend that he's a genuine like martial arts tough guy, and he went around with Anderson Silva, who's one of the greatest UFC fighters of all time. Yeah. And he would claim that when Anderson Silva would knock some guy out with a roundhouse kick or whatever, that Seagal would show up and said, "Yeah, I taught him well. I taught him that in training." And everybody in UFC would laugh at that. And then the other thing is that he claimed that he would take on what's the name of the guy that did Spawn?
Michael J. White.
Michael J. White, who's like an actor, but he's also a really properly accomplished martial artist, would totally eviscerate Steven Seagal, man.
Oh, and he would eat him up and chew him out.
Yeah, for sure. There's videos of him doing like crazy shit, Michael J. White. But anyway, yeah, I digress. Shall we go to the next one? Next one?
Yeah. Let's go to the next one. So what are we doing?
All right, my number 9 is Alonzo Harris.
That's smart.
Alonzo Harris is a great. Well, why is he a great villain? Now we're getting to the to the villains that are, with rare exceptions, they're more multidimensional, well fleshed out villains. One of the great things about this movie, Training Day, which is one of the all-time best thrillers of all time, is that you never know, as you're watching it for the first time, you're on the fence with this guy. You're not sure whether he's trying to just play the tough cop thing with Ethan Hawke's character, because Ethan Hawke is a rookie basically, and he's trying to learn the ropes, and he's paired up with this character, or if he's legitimately bad. But as the movie progresses, you know that he's, you get more and more evidence that he's that he's at least a twisted character, right?
Mm.
And but you're always on the fence until this this very
I think there's like a key scene. I think
there's a key scene, and the scene is when he leaves him alone with these Mexican gangbangers, which is one of the greatest scenes of all times. Like one of the most high tension sequences that in cinema, where you realize, oh shit, this guy is actually a totally villainous, totally unredeemable dude who's just left Ethan Hawke's character, I forget his name, for dead, basically. He left him to the hyenas to...
Yeah, well, I think he's called Jake something, Jake.
Yeah, Jake's
Jake,
terrible.
I want my money, Jake. This is me.
And then once that scene, that's a very transitional scene where all of a sudden you realize, all right, this guy's an unredeemable villain. Then you really want to see his comeuppance, you know. Now you really want to see Ethan Hawke take him out, and yeah, I'm not going to spoil anything. You guys should watch it if you haven't watched it. But it's one of the most expertly crafted villains I've ever seen in the film.
Yeah, no, I think it's true, and I think remember this is the first time Denzel played this kind of character, because before Denzel was known as playing this kind of very
heroic. Dude, I'm glad that you brought that up, because that's why you also, as the viewer, you're so willing to give him the benefit of the doubt. You know, oh, it's Denzel.
Denzel always plays the noble good guy, so it was a huge shock for like, oh my gosh, Denzel is evil. Like, this guy is bad. We've never seen Denzel take his character into this arena, you know. And I think that was one of because what was so amazing about it was that he brought a level of sophistication to this role that most other actors can't bring, which is that, because for me, I always thought that, oh my gosh, like, why do people pick up this role? Because, you know, Denzel's just sort of playing like the crooked cop and everything. But say, no. Like, cause I remember it was my uncle who said, do you know how much of a bastard this dude was in this? And I was like, oh my gosh, no, like, Denzel, like, do you know what's crazy? I think the performance is actually underrated. Like, as much as we preach about it, I think people, because put it this way, this is a performance I've watched more than any other, in terms of, if I've got nothing to do, I'll go on YouTube or go on Netflix, I'll just watch clips. I have watched this performance more times than any other performance of any film, because there are just too many scenes that he has in it. Yeah, man. Okay, no, that's a good one, man. That's a good one. So we're now in the big time now. So my number nine. Let me bring up that banner. Your boy's number 9. This is one that Machine you will know, but I'm not sure whether our audience will know. I'm not sure whether our audience will know, but this is one scary flipping dude. This is one scary flipping dude that will scare the life out of you. This
I almost this guy, man.
Fender. Now,
man, you can't tell me you're not a Van Damme fan if you include him as one of the greatest villains of all time, and then you include this dude.
Let me tell you this, guys. If you want to talk about one of the most harrowing, terrifying intros to a film of all time, it is the intro to Cyborg. Because it's like if you've been given a first-class ticket to hell. Literally. And first of all, the film Cyborg is like a horror movie.
Yeah.
It's literally a horror movie. And this was when, see, this is my type of villain where this guy is just bad. This guy is just literally pure flipping freaking evil. You know, this guy is just complete and total evil. And when and the thing was that this villain perfectly fits the world of cyber because it's a post-apocalyptic world where I think at one point they tried to almost crucify Van Damme's character.
They do.
How his voice, his look, and everything. This is like hell on earth. You know.
I think Van Damme kicks his way out of the crucifixion, which is really funny. But yeah, it's a sort of like a Mad Max homage / ripoff. But I think Cyborg is one of my favorite Van Damme flicks, and I remember watching it repeatedly as a 12-year-old, and this is a pretty disturbing film. And this, he shows people severed heads and stuff, and like, wasn't this the guy that played? Do you remember this movie called Candyman? It was actually a series of horror flicks.
Oh no! That's Tony Todd.
It's not this guy.
No, it's not. It's not this guy.
Tony Todd. I thought it was the same guy. I never watched Candyman. That's why.
Oh yeah. Oh no! You haven't seen Candyman?
No. Oh man, they're looking nothing.
Okay, so that's my number. So, what are we doing? So we're now for your number 8.
I don't know why I confused these two. My number 8. You ready for this?
Yes, sir.
Barnes, Sergeant Barnes. Do you know who it is?
Oh yes, Platoon.
Platoon, one of the greatest movies of all time, and the greatest war movie, I would say.
Yeah, but no. Basically, no. For me, it's my personal favorite. I wouldn't say it's great, but it's in my personal favorite war film, I would say.
Oh, dude, I just remembered one that I didn't include, man. That I definitely should have included.
Well, it's not so late to change it up.
No, I can't change it up, but yeah, can I at least tell you who it is?
Oh yeah, who?
Lestat.
Who's that?
Tom Cruise in Interview with a Vampire.
Oh, okay. Oh, wow.
I would have featured him highly. I thought I did, man. But anyway, Barnes is an amazing villain because he's actually similar to Alonzo Harris in a sense, because
you're not sure that he's really fully a villain based on the situation.
Yeah, that's exactly it. Or if he's just like a hardened type that's trying to like tell you the ways of the world, tell the ways of the real world to like these more sort of idealistically minded, or just like greener types, and then you realize that he is genuinely totally evil towards the end of the flick. But one of the things that I love about Barnes is the performance by Tom Berenger, which is one of the great performances of all time, and the way that he was so physically well. That's Scar.
I am reality.
You boys, you smoke that shit to escape reality. Me, I don't need that shit. I am reality.
I am reality. So wait, have you heard of a band called In Living Color?
In Living Color, the show?
No, band, rock band.
No.
Basically, the lead singer is in this film.
The lead singer.
Yeah, we remember the guy that says politics, man, politics.
Yeah. I remember Johnny Depp is in this film.
Of a rock band called Living Color.
Did you know Johnny Depp is in this film?
Yes. I remember. Yeah. I remember seeing him.
It's his first role. It was like, I think it was Platoon or
don't say too much. Don't say too much because we have to do a top 10 war films.
Okay, all right, yeah.
We'll do a top because I think because Platoon is definitely one I definitely want to get into, man. So okay, no, that's a good shout. Now this one is people will say this should be higher. because this performance scared the living crap out of me. And I think this is one of the best, even if this like it's not that high, it's one of the best performances in any film. Good about the character, one of the best performances in any film. Oops, sorry.
It looks like he's taking a shit, man.
Norman Stansfield in Leon the Professional, Gary Oldman. This, when I watched this for the first time, I was terrified. And it's funny when I was after looking at the film, I was like, oh my God, what's a terrifying performance without any makeup or anything, just how a guy can just sort of create such an provocative aura is amazing. And then I remember reading an interview with Gary Oldman. Gary Oldman was sort of saying that, like, you know, he wanted to understand the thinking, the psychology of someone who took drugs, and he actually went around and actually sort of interviewed people so he could get into the psychology of people who would take drugs, so he could really get into their whole psyche. But yeah, man, I mean, this character was just wild, just totally wild. You're like, this, because you almost say that, like, what is wrong with this dude? Like, what is his psychology? So basically, it's just one of those things where, like, you're like, man, this is a weirdo, man. Yeah, and everyone, yeah.
Is that when he's saying that? That's the shot from when.
No, it's not.
No, okay.
This is
the funny thing about Gary Oldman is that there's like.
No, this is whenever he takes like a pill.
Okay.
He takes the pill and just does one weird thing whenever he takes the pill.
There's like 4 characters that Gary Oldman has played that could have featured in the list. Like,
no, because he's literally played. He's played
Dragon.
There's a point when he was the go-to guy for villains, man. Literally.
Yeah, but as far as Gary Oldman villains, my personal favorite is it's between Drexel from True Romance.
Yeah. No. That's another really good one.
And
screenwriting professor was an extra in Leon. Cool. So probably this is why you're so obviously into a film, because this guy you do screenwriting. Look, man. I mean, he was really, really top. He was just really, really, really incredible, and just really, really. Because you forget about the film, just as a character, it's when you watch the film, because those who've not seen the film, like, when you watch the film, you're like, this is wild. I think you mean Jean Reno. Jean Reno was the guy in it. I think Nancy Popman was basically, there's some weird stuff with regards to the story and the guy. I've forgotten the name of the director who also did the Fifth Element.
Yeah, I love that character as well. Oh, the guy. Oh, sorry, the director is the director of Fifth Element is.
I know. I know him. French dude. I know just that his name.
Yeah, he did Taxi as well in that movie with he married that hot Mila Jovovich.
Yeah. Okay, so number 7.
My number 7 is Predator. The Predator.
As in the Predator.
Yes, the Predator from Predator, the movie. Predator 1 and 2. 2 is another very underrated sequel, by the way.
Yes, very underrated. Yes, I agree.
Shat on, but I remember thoroughly enjoying it in the movie theaters. It seems like it's going up in people's estimations. It's like I say, man, everything, time puts everything in its right place, and Predator 2 is being justifiably found a new appreciation. Anyway, Predator, why I like this villain so much, because, you only see him in spurts. You only see him in actually you see his perspective all the time in the film, and it's so weird and alien. You as a viewer, you're like trying to determine what the hell are they fighting. I remember watching Predator for the first time, and it seemed I thought I was going to watch like a straight war movie, and then all of a sudden this weird fantastical element starts creeping in. It sort of clues you in. It doesn't clue you in because the movie starts with like a spaceship landing towards Earth, but it distracts you because all of a sudden it's like you get like a good 20 minutes of just straight Vietnam like a war movie, and then all of a sudden you see that it's a lot weirder than that. And these people, this platoon of hardcore macho type characters are being pursued by this alien being that they know nothing about, and yeah, it's an amazingly conceived character, and part of the reason why I like it so much is because the things that are
give love to Stan Winston, bro.
First of all, visually it's amazing, but the things that are revealed about this character are measured, and they do it measuredly, and they don't just give it all away immediately, and they only show his face behind this mask at the very end of the movie. It's like, you're one ugly motherfucker.
You're one ugly motherfucker. Come on. I'm here, kill me. I'm here, kill me. I'm here, come on, kill me.
No, it's an amazing creation it's like a tarantula type. It's got these mandibles that are
this dude here, Infinity's Limits. Basically, like I've known this dude for like some years now. Like I call it like my Miami Connect. This is like our jam. Like Predator is like our holy grail film. Predator for me is like a classic upon classic upon classic, man. Like for me, I think Predator is a masterpiece. It's a masterpiece.
It absolutely is. It's a masterpiece.
Remember that before Stan Winston came on, the Predator looked wild in terms of he looks like a brick. So Stan Winston came and just completely redesigned the whole thing. So Stan Winston needs to really be given some serious credit because the dude is a legend, man.
Yeah, absolutely. And another little tidbit that your audience might not know is that the Predator himself was supposed to be played by none other than our boy JCVD.
Yep.
Yeah. But I think he ended up not playing him because he just the costume he wasn't feeling the costume or whatever. Something like that, or some dispute, and it didn't play out. But he was in the works to play him. As I don't think I can add anything else, man. If you've seen this movie, you'll agree with me, basically, that he should definitely.
It's a superb. I mean, no, that's a nice pick. That's a nice pick. Now I don't know how many people have seen this film, but this is another crazy character. This is another absolutely insane, crazy character. And my number 7 is Indio from A Few Dollars More.
Oh, okay. Yeah, man, I haven't seen this movie in years.
Oh, okay, yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, yeah, like this dude was just in terms of a dude who is just, this dude is gone. He is mentally gone. And shout out to Gian Maria Volonte, who is the actor. It's one of the craziest performances I've ever seen. Because at the point I said, wait a minute, is this guy acting? Because it seems wrong. I said, like, wait, is this guy actually acting or is he actually insane? But yeah, this guy was just, and also like the stuff that he did as well, he was reprehensible and he was just pure. Basically, there was nothing redeemable. He was just pure evil. So basically, we're not getting to the point where all these guys now are literal pure evil dudes, man. So for me, yeah, man. Indio in this, because again, look, quality film, really amazing film. It's the best of the three because Fistful was a ripoff. Good, Bad, and Ugly is overrated. But yeah, this was the best one, and his performance in this and his character in this, basically, it's the perfect kind of villain because you hate him because you're like, no, this is just an evil, nasty dude. So yeah, that is my
All
number.
right.
So 6.
Let's get to 6, and my choice for number 6 is Bricktop. You know who Bricktop is?
Well, I'm gonna.
One of the most endlessly quotable villains of all time.
Is this? Oh, Snatch.
Played by Alan Ford. In what is one of the most convincingly evil performances I've ever seen of a mobster. This guy overtakes Joe Pesci in Goodfellas for me, as far as like a totally like deranged mobster type. This guy takes the cake, and like I said, he's infinitely quotable. Everything about like. I don't even like. Listen, I don't even like
Snatch.
No, Snatch. I really like. It's the exception, but the Guy Ritchie movies. The Snatch is sort of the exception, and the reason why it's the exception is because it has Brad Pitt's probably his best performance to date. Certainly his most unique performance. Where he was taking a lot of risks, and it just happened to like work out with that gypsy character of his. And then because of this guy is just endlessly watchable and just an horrible cunt, which is one of his quotes.
I haven't seen Snatch in ages.
Do you know what nemesis means? Yeah, man. Watch it again, if only for this guy. There's this really, really funny video on YouTube. I suggest everybody in the chat go check it out, called Darth Bricktop, and it's basically scenes of Darth Vader, but overlaid with this guy's quotes, as if it's like. And I promise you, that's a better villain than both Darth Vader and him. It's like the ultimate villain for me is this guy that walks around doing the Emperor's bidding, but he's like super kooky, like he's betting on fist fights and stuff at the same time. I've got a bare knuckle fight in a couple of days. I want to go with the pike, you know.
No, basically, like this is the kind of dude who go into some. I'm sure Erhan can even say, like, he goes into places in London. These dudes are like a conveyor belt in terms of look, speech, manners. Like they're literally there's like a line.
Yeah,
a genetic line of guys who look like, sound like, and act like dudes like this. You know?
I just remembered, it's not Darth Bricktop. It's called Snatch Wars. It's one of the great YouTube videos of all time. I think it's like 10 years old by this time, at this point. But fully worth. It's one of the classics.
Okay,
sure.
So we're on 6 now, man. Guys, well, thank you. So we'll be here for 2. Remember, guys, like the vid, hit that like button. We've been giving you great entertainment for about 2 hours right now. We're still here. We're still pumping through. So number 6. I think this is my number 6. If we're gonna find it, there you go. Now this is going to surprise everyone. It will surprise everyone. But when people see this, they'll be like, "Oh my gosh, what a brilliant pick! What a brilliant pick!" But I don't think most people will not have seen this coming. Most people will not have seen this coming. But those that see it will be like, "Oh my gosh, well, this is a brilliant, brilliant pick." If I could just find this whole thing, bear with me. So, and this is one where, for those people who've seen this film, and most people have seen this film, they'll know that this was an absolutely amazing performance.
But is he a villain?
Hell
Oh,
yes.
yeah, of course he's a villain, yeah. I forget it. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, so you wouldn't see him as a villain?
No, it's just because DiCaprio sort of overtook the thing. I don't recall the movie that well, but he
Yeah,
stole it. But then
but,
you realize,
but see, that's the thing. Is like the guy who remember he is the guy who is truly evil because he's the guy that is truly aware of everything that's truly happening.
look at that eye. Look at how good Sam Jackson is in this, and just the
No, no, no.
eye look.
You see, do you know what I always say? Is he didn't get anything from it because it was so good and so real. Imagine nominating this a black guy who was literally pretty much trying to enslave his own black people. Like it was crazy.
Yeah.
Like this is like he was like so for me, DiCaprio was the villain. He was the real villain because this guy was truly evil. And what you'd find is he'd be more evil to the slaves than DiCaprio would. You know.
Right.
So, but for me, it's Samuel Jackson's.
You could also say that he was just like he'd been twisted by the. He's like an Uncle Tom, you know what I mean? Like the worst possible version of that.
No, people say that he appears as the lackey, but
Right.
when we have the scene when him and Jang and Calvin have that conversation, he's almost like a father type figure to Calvin behind the scenes. It appears as he's like the lackey and everything. Really, he's the guy that manages the whole plantation, and he's the guy that advises Calvin to ensure that everything is.
Man, I remember. Yeah, that's like sort of like the twist is like that. He's really there's a twisted father-son relationship going on, where he appears to be subservient, but really he's the guy in charge of operations. Yeah, you're right. Absolutely. This is a fantastic pick.
Yeah. So for me, that's my thing. So we're now into our top 5, guys. We're into our top 5. Guys, remember, hit that like button. Hit that like button. Support your boys, Machine and Thingy as we come. We're now into the home streets, man. We're into the home streets. Hit the like button. Give us a like, man. Give us that like.
Yeah, gotta give us that like. And this is this is it, man. So my pick for top 5 is none other than the Xenomorph.
The Xenomorph?
Yeah. You know what it is. Just type Xenomorph. And share it with
okay. Okay.
And what I mean by this choice, I would say the Xenomorph specifically of the first movie. Specifically of the first movie, because every subsequent movie after that sort of detracted from the allure and the mystique of this creature. Because one of the genius things that Ridley Scott managed to do with Alien, the first one, was to really obscure this creature and envelop this creature in shadow and just let us see glimpses the whole time. You never really saw like the full thing until this seminal moment at the end where it's got Ripley pinned up against the wall, and then all of a sudden you see the creature in its full glory, and it's even more twisted and weirder than you could imagine it.
Actually, let me more have something in for that, and let's even have a discussion. Can you call this really a villain if it doesn't have any kind of character? We don't really get any sort of psychology with regards to what it wants and its evil deeds. Because it's similar to the shark in Jaws. I wouldn't call that a villain. It's a threat. But is this really a villain or just much more of a physical threat?
it's an antagonistic force, and when you say villain, obviously it's not the this doesn't fit within that mold of like the cape and the I have this master plan to overtake the universe and stuff. But no, I mean it's clearly an antagonistic force that I would rate as a villain. It depends on, it's a technicality we're discussing. It's semantics that we're discussing at the moment. Yeah, I would rate this as a villain. I would rate Jaws as well as a villain, and that should probably be in a top 10 if I were to reshuffle my top 10. I would include Lestat and Jaws probably somewhere in there, and get rid of Tong Po and maybe even Lopan. No, Lopan's got to be in there.
Okay.
But anyway, we've all seen this movie. Everybody knows how
it's a classic film. This is a classic film.
And how this thing evolves. It starts out as the chest burster, which is like one of the great all-time scenes as well, and truly unexpected. Even when I rewatch it these days, I just rewatched it recently, and the way that the scene is paced, that it's coming, but you're still like taken aback by it because there's the sound design, everything. There's a silence to it, and then all of a sudden, and the way that it moves and it coils up like some nasty reptile from your nightmares, dude. And then you were talking about Stan Winston. Major props to H.R. Giger, the Swiss artist that conceived
crazy design,
this monstrosity, and the set designs of that movie. He was also scheduled, he was in the works to do also something similar with Dune, the Jodorowsky version. And just think of that movie, man. Instead of David Lynch,
man, that would have been crazy if he had done Dune. Because I remember watching the documentary on that about how he would have done stuff for Dune.
Been totally crazy, but yeah, that's my pick.
Okay, that's a nice pick, man. So, guys, we're getting into the brass tacks, man. We're getting into the brass tacks, and this is a huge pick. You can't have a top anything without having this dude who, even if he's 5, you could still argue that he's perhaps the greatest villain of all time, and he's one of my favorite villains of all time.
Sauron.
You gotta roll with him, bro. You gotta roll with your boy. There has never been a character that has made a bigger impact in a film than Sauron in Fellowship of the Ring. When you see him, you're like, oh my God. And just think, the bit about Sauron is, you see him and he's popping off. Then this guy literally decimates a whole army by himself. Then Homeboy gets taken out. He is so powerful that for 3 films, you can feel his presence. And do you know what was so crazy? When they released, and then because I haven't read any of the books, when they released, the name of the final film was called Return of the King. I thought it was called Return of Sauron. I was like, oh my gosh, Sauron is back? God damn. So, and for me, I still say that we were robbed of a final battle between Aragorn and Sauron. But for me, like in terms of a threat and just presence, I've never seen anything like Sauron before. Like he is, basically, what Sauron is what Sauron is, how he was presented is what I wanted for Thanos in the MC films. That is what I thought Thanos would be, the way, because Sauron was all about less is more. Less is more. Is you felt this guy's presence. And all you did was just like 10 minutes in Fellowship of the Ring to be like, the only thing that just pissed me off was we needed a final battle where he comes back, he F's up all those dudes, and they just about managed just to kill him. But we needed like a final hurrah. But now Sauron is that dude, man.
Listen, I love Sauron. I could have listed him. The reason why I didn't list him in my top 10 is because he's a bit esoteric to me, the way that he's presented in Lord of the Rings, because you don't understand if he's like a physical creature, and then he has all these different manifestations where all of a sudden he's a giant fiery eyeball at the top of a tower. Is that a manifestation of Sauron, or is it just some kind of wizardry that he's concocted to see and oversee Middle Earth? I don't know. It's not clear. And
Well, so what was like a detraction for you, or
it wasn't a detract. It's a little esoteric. It's like Galadriel, and when Galadriel shows up and starts waxing lyrical about stuff that I can't have a grasp on, and then I sort of lose interest. But Sauron, if he was that armored creature at the beginning that we see, then I'm all about it. But then it's like he's like an eyeball, and I really liked in the director's cut, which is essential viewing for me. There's also the mouth of Sauron, and that's freakier than anything in the actual.
I still need. I'm just so pissed off with how Return of the King ended. I still don't want to view that with that director's cut. It would just piss me off.
The director's essential viewing, man.
Was it? You see, the thing about Gollum is an amazing character, one of the best characters of all time. He's not a villain. He was just corrupted by the ring. So
yeah, he's a tragic figure. That's all he is, really.
Yeah, he's just a amazing tragic figure, but he isn't innately evil. His evil comes from the external source, which is the ring, which has just corrupted him.
He's basically the shadow side of Frodo.
So the shadow side of what?
He's the shadow side of Frodo.
Yeah. I mean, perfectly put. So we are now on to number 4.
And my number 4 is the Joker, not the Jack Nicholson Joker, but the Joker is played by Heath Ledger. Which I think is one of the great performances of all time. When one of the we've discussed this ad nauseum. I don't think The Dark Knight is a very good movie. It's decent at best, except for the Joker. It's elevated.
Yeah, he is the film. He makes the film.
He makes the film. He takes away the Joker from that film, and it's like a bad Heat ripoff. And I wasn't that much of a fan of Heat in the first place. So you can think, you can understand how low my appreciation for The Dark Knight would be were it not for the Joker's inclusion. And
I'm going to say something, but I want you to think. I'm going to say something that is a little bit of a fight back as to why I didn't put him in as a villain, but continue.
Okay, so I think it's all about the performance, really, and about the reinvention that they made of this character, which I thought was very fresh, very unique, but true to the soul and to the soul of the character, the Joker. They didn't depart, which is basically the Joker represents chaos, unfettered lunacy, and you just giving yourself. He's an archetypal representation of chaos, basically.
So do you think he'll make a great Joker? So you'll make a great Joker.
Who will?
You is a machine. You'll make a great Joker.
Me?
Yeah.
I'll make a great Joker.
Well, basically, you have to be psycho and have a crazy laugh. So.
Oh right, yeah, man. Just give me the makeup. I'd make a great Joker.
No, but I think you're a bit too. I mean, you do make psychotic picks, but I don't think you're actually psychotic. You just have psychotic.
Yeah, a psychotic view, but not actually psychotic.
Yeah.
But the thing is, so this is sort of like a post-punk. No, it's a punk interpretation of the character. Very, they took on that the anarchist trappings of the punk aesthetic and embraced it. There's also a lot of grunge in this, It's like a mix of punk and grunge, and yeah, it's not the Joker that you saw in Jack Nicholson's Joker at all. That was actually, in terms of visuals, at least more faithful to the comics.
You see, the reason why I'm going to fight back, as I say, this is an amazing performance, superb, amazing performance. But this goes to the issues with the film. By the end of the day, you were rooting for Joker. You actually liked him. He was cool because the main hero was such a bum. You were like, you know what? No, I actually want to see. He became the hero of the film. Somehow, he stopped being the villain, and because he was so cool, because he took over the entire film, he was charismatic, he was interesting, and great lines. He became the hero. So once he now became the hero, it's like I don't even think of him as a villain. I don't even think of him as the bad guy. I just think of him as a very interesting character. So that's why I don't even put him in. Because see, if we're doing a top 10 characters list, oh my gosh, like he'll be like top 5 characters of all time. But in terms of a villain,
no, I think he's a villain, man, and I think that the only reason why he doesn't feature even higher than I put him is because there's a discrepancy in the script and the characterization of the Joker, which is he's supposedly this force of chaos that doesn't really plan anything out at all. He just goes with the flow. It's like he says in the movie, like, I'm like a dog chasing cars. I wouldn't know what to do with one if I caught it. But it's not at all like that. Like, actually, all the set pieces that you see are very carefully constructed, and all these machinations that he comes up with they're machinations. They're not, something that he generates on a whim. The closest thing you get in those movies to a real Joker like action is that time where he piles up all that money that he's collected and decides to burn it.
Yeah. But
and I
the thing about it is that you end up liking him. Do you really hate him? No, it's like, and that's my thing with him, is like, he turns out to be, even if you know that you're supposed to hate him, supposed to dislike him, you actually turn out saying, oh no, he's actually pretty cool. And he said, I didn't root for the so did you really root for a guy who can't speak? Because I don't know what the hell Bill's Batman was saying in that damn film, because I can't root for a guy who can't speak English. I'm sorry.
Yeah, but listen, one dude is trying to destroy a city and to subvert everything that it's supposed to represent, right? And the other one's trying to save it. So you have to be rooting for Batman, unless you want to feature in this list, HH.
Okay, look, man, let's write some. So this is now my number 4. Yeah, my number 4. Yeah. Yeah. Now it's time for me to have some beef. This is exactly where it should be. This dude is pure evil. This is the epitome of evil. And I don't understand how you're going to have any of these dudes above Emperor Palpatine. Because Vader was, he was bad, but Vader's evil was much more complex. This is the literal definition of pure evil. Forget Rise of Skywalker. Forget the prequels. This is about Return of the Jedi. Jedi. Return of the Jedi. Strike me down. It's like the Emperor, from the voice, the look, his characterization, this is the perfect, deliciously realized villain, because he was just pure evil. There is no ifs, buts, and even because remember the whole film and the beauty about Star Wars was the fights between good and evil, striking the balance and everything, and there was no better representation of a guy who represented the dark side, as well as Emperor Palpatine did. So it's like, it's like,
did you know that originally the Sith, you know what the Sith is? The Sith were supposed to be a totally different thing than what they ended up being. They were like wizards and stuff. What he is basically, and Darth Vader wasn't a Sith. He wouldn't have been a Sith.
oh wow.
So that's why he calls the lightsaber a Jedi weapon. Because he's a Sith. He's not a Jedi. The Siths don't hold lightsabers.
Oh, okay.
In my headcanon, Darth Vader is a dark Jedi, which does exist, that concept in the Star Wars extended universe. So Darth Vader represents what what Jedi can become if they follow the Jedi code too extremely.
Okay.
The Jedi code is all about purging emotions. Like, there is no emotion, there's only peace. And you become a machine. You become purged when you purge yourself of all emotion. You become a robot, basically, and that's what Vader is. Versus the Sith, who were supposed to embody passion. It's all about, and that's why, like, this guy's acting is it's always seething with rage and emotion and contempt, and it's all about passion. This Jedi, and it's the same thing even with that other villain, which I thought was cool in The Last Jedi. It's a shame that they got rid of him so quickly. The one that's also a Sith. That's a totally different.
Dude, nah.
You didn't like it?
Nah.
Yes, his name is ridiculous, Snoke. But I thought,
Smoke. No, he's called Smoke.
Snoke.
No, I call him Smoke. I call him Smoke. Okay, he should be Smoke off.
But Andy Serkis did a fantastic job, man, and the CGI is really well.
Okay, so what are we doing right now? So your number 3.
Oh, my number 3. Sorry. My number 3 is The Wicked Witch. The Wicked Witch, Wizard of Oz.
Wicked Witch of the West.
Absolutely. I don't know what it is about this woman and this performance that unsettled me so much, but I had a good 3-year run as a kid where my nightmares were basically populated by her and little else. And I don't know how to explain it, man. This is, and also, like, the fact, listen, if I show this to my kid, I don't want to show this to my kid now because I don't want to invite this sort of thing into his mindscape. But there's just something in the same way that we're speaking about Nurse Ratched and Kathy Bates. This is that, but like taken to the extreme. The evil neighbor that.
Yeah. There was just something very creepy about this, about this lady. But because even I was like, so where does she live? What does she do day to day? Does she have breakfast? Like what is she about? What does she do on her off day?
Yeah, and just stuff, and just things like you get the scenes where they're super cheery and super. It's the contrast between the cheeriness and this thing, and just at the and the way that they introduce her is fantastic, because it's like they're going, we're off to see the wizard, the wonderful Wizard of Oz. And then all of a sudden, there's this explosion, and everybody's like, ah, and this red smoke billowing out, and she shows up, and she's like, I'll get you, my little pretty. And man, it's genius. And then there's scenes where she's just lingering and like lurking in the background. You see her just lurking in the. That's super freaky to me. Where it's Dorothy with the scarecrow or what have you. And then you see this tippy hat, and she's just like lurking and scheming and stuff. There's something very disturbing about how gaunt she is. Sort of like me actually, but in a freakier way, I think. And also it's an amazing performance, and she shows up originally, because they all have homologs, sorry, of like in the black and white intro, and the first 15 minutes of the film, which is shot in black and white.
Yeah.
You see all the characters that show up in Wizard of Oz, the main characters, like the lion and the cowardly lion and she features as well. She's the woman in the bicycle that steals Toto from Dorothy.
Because I haven't seen Wizard of Oz in ages, man. I've not seen it because the last time I saw it, because this is when I was in school in Geneva, and even though I think because it's a musical, I was about to say, wait, why are we watching a film in music lesson? But like our American teacher put on Wizard of Oz for us for music and everything, and I was like, oh wow, cool. So that's the first and only time that I've seen it. But yeah, I remember the Wicked Witch was just, I was like, yeah, this, even as well, like she has a green face, and they're like, yeah, for kids, it's something that would give kids nightmares.
Still does. I'm sure that.
Okay. So my number 3, and I think it is one that we've had already, but I think I want you to put some respect on his name, bro. You got to put some respect on his name. I know that you had him, but in terms of just a guy who is bad, and he really, the whole point of No Country for Old Men is like, as the Tommy Lee Jones says, it's like, no, this is, they're not dealing with a different brand of evil. When they were younger, they could understand the evil. There was a point to the evil. But this new world, you don't understand what this evil is. This evil just has no true motive. They're just innately just born of devilish and demonic things. And just even just look at this face, just having about them. I think this is why, whenever people say, oh no, why do we need diversity? Why do we need diversity? The beauty about diversity is people of different cultures give you a different interpretation of a role. Because if you just have the kind of white Caucasian view of what evil is, we've seen it before. But now we have a guy who is Spanish, and he's sort of giving like a European Spanish kind of twist of what being evil is. And also I think his mom is a famous actor. So they come from like an acting lineage and everything. But yeah, I mean, it was chilling.
And I think
because the thing was that because of the accent, the look and everything, you'd never seen a villain like this. So it's made it even scarier because it was like, oh my gosh, we're now seeing like a Spanish interpretation of evil. So the acting choices he's making are so different from other things that we know. So it's superb.
I think that he's supposed to be playing a Turkish guy. No?
Oh, you mean in this film?
In this film, I mean, like his name is Anton Chigurh. Chigurh, that sounds super Turkish.
Yeah, I mean, Erhan. I think Erhan is Turkish. Erhan is Chigurh Turkish. Let us know. It's Chigurh Turkish. Okay, so
he has the look. I mean, he could perfectly, be a Turkish guy just from looking at him. But
and also that hairpiece is also wild as well, man.
It's amazing. Who wears anybody that actually wears his hair like that is a freak of some kind. I don't know if he's a psychotic freak, but he's some kind of freak.
He's a freak. He's someone. But see, I don't want to be messing with a guy who looks like this. No way. Guys, we are almost there, man. Number 2.
All right, my number 2 is none other than Hans Gruber, who we already mentioned.
Wow. Wow. Okay. Now I know why you were pissed.
Yeah. Just an amazing, super suave character. Me, HH and I have gone on about this at length in our Die Hard review. I think we reviewed Die Hard, no,
Mm.
separately.
We did.
And in there, I expressed my thoughts about what made this such a compelling character, and specifically what made him such a compelling foil to the Bruce Willis John McClane character. Because John McClane is basically, for me, represents America, where he's like a young, brash, with an itchy trigger finger, but can think very well on his feet, creative, very macho, etc., etc. Substance addicted, a little bit unkempt, like uncivilized. And this guy represents Europe, basically, which is, he's a little bit effeminate, more intellectual, certainly more elegant, and more refined, more cultured. But yeah, and super evil and evil, basically. He's basically a maniac. A maniac, but not a maniac in the sense that he's like going to maim people or anything, but he's just very like cold, impossibly ambitious, endlessly ambitious guy who will stop at nothing to achieve his objectives, which in this case is to become very, very wealthy. And he pretends that he has some kind of ideological, some kind of political, that he's driven by some kind of political ideological fervor, but not at all. He wants to line his pockets, basically. But yeah, he's the perfect foil. Every time that he's on screen, he commands your attention. The script is also very well written.
No, as soon as I say, yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker.
Yippee-ki-yay, motherfucker. Yeah. Very snooty, but
no. I think because it was it was a great counterbalance to what Bruce Willis was about, and
absolutely,
yeah, and I think because again, I think what made it work was how different they both were. Like they're literally like if these guys are from completely different worlds. Different worlds. So it's made it more interesting in them trying to psych out one another because they're from different cultures. They have different characters. And they, even if they were, let's say, in a school, they would be in totally different groups if they were in a school,
Yeah, he'd be in the chess club, and McClane would be like,
and McClane would be like with the sports people.
So, absolutely. No, this guy's much more physically. He's a physical coward, and you can see that in the movie as well. But much more cerebral. He's just a perfect foil. There are two sides of this, not of the same coin. They're just two polar opposites that complement each other very well as foils in this movie. And I think he's a tremendous villain because of that. Because every good villain, there's a particular kind of villain that has to be a great compliment for the heroic figure, and he's about as good of a compliment as there is for the protagonist. Hans Gruber. By the way, a shout out to Die Hard 3 that has Hans Gruber's brother as the main villain, as played by Jeremy Irons. He's not quite as good as this, but he is a very good villain as well.
Okay, so now we move over to the number 2, guys. We're almost there, guys. Guys, remember, hit that like button. Hit that like button. Give us a like. We're almost there. We're almost at 3 hours, man. This has been a long haul. 20 films, 20 flipping films, man, and we are here to produce that crazy content for you. So this is my number 2. And this is definitely one of the sickest, most demented dudes ever known. John Doe from Seven. This is evil in almost the realest sense. So obviously we have the guys like the Saurons, the Sarumans, the big guys, but this is now where we're now getting into more psychological territory. And when we really get into true evil, and a guy who is like, no, this guy is really messed up, because this is because when you look at the gruesome murders that this guy sort of orchestrates, and I think the beauty about this is for so much of the film you don't even see him, so you know of his villainy through his actions. So even before you see me, like, who would do this to people? What would drive someone to do this to people? And then again, not to really ruin the film for guys who not seen it, when you just see how things end up and what he does, you're like, wow. And also the way Fincher and specifically the writer Andrew Kevin Walker, the way they present him is in an almost chillingly realistic way of like, where someone like this could potentially exist. So, and that is what makes it even scarier. And that's what makes it his villainy far more piercing, is this almost feels like if this is what someone could do if someone was as messed up as him. Because again, his whole thing is about trying to prove a point, which is even scarier, where you have a guy who is evil and he has a very specific goal he's trying to chase in his villainy. So I mean, John Doe, chilling film, man. So any thoughts on Mr. Johnny Doe?
I loved the villain, and especially the build up towards the villain. You know what I mean? Because before you actually reveal Kevin Spacey as being the face to all of these horrors, you're being exposed to his victims and the gruesome fashion with which he dispensed them. So that builds up the allure and the mystique of this total nut job. Even before you meet him, I think that there is somewhat of when there's that kind of buildup, there's always a little bit of a disappointment when you finally get to meet the real, when you put the face to the murders. But in this case, Spacey did a very good job with this sort of like glazed over look that's almost saintly. It's not exactly evil, He almost looks like a deranged Gandhi over there. There's
no. See, you guys are sort of, because look, this is about Kevin Spacey the actor, not Kevin Spacey the man. Because for Kevin Spacey the man, bro, I don't know what that guy's on. That guy seems pretty weird. But now we're seeing Kevin Spacey the man. Is it a case of art imitating life or life imitating art? It's no, but yeah, as a performance, it was because again, you already know my love for Seven. Seven for me is one of the greatest films ever made, in my view. It's an incredible piece of work, but just in terms of a villain, man, John Doe, yeah, man, he's right up there in terms of just dude is bad. All right, so before you give me your number one. Guys, this has been tough. We have gone through 19 of our films. You may agree, you may disagree, but with these are just our personal choices. So before you give me your number one, again, guys, remember, hit that like button, menstruate that like button, lubricate that like button. What? Okay, so is your number one something that came to you quickly?
Yes.
You have to think about it, or was it an instantaneous thing already that you already knew?
No, I knew.
Wow. So because again, I want to just sort of pick your brain, because again, Remember, you said you're gonna guess mine, so let me try and guess yours.
Okay.
Is it the dude in Die Hard 3?
No, it's not.
I'm gonna say, who would it? Who? Would it? And it's obviously not Jaws.
No, it's not.
I don't know, who would Machine pick?
Can I tell you?
Okay, so no. We have to build up. We have to build up. So let me just ask it. Will I be pissed off, or will the streets be pissed off by who you pick?
No, nobody's gonna. I hope not. If they're pissed off, then they're not. They're not with it.
They're not to the files, of course.
To the yeah.
Okay, so who is it? Hit me.
All right, my number one pick is Gargamel from the Smurfs. No, I'm joking. I'm joking, bro. My number one pick is I guess you could call her Reagan, or you could call it Pazuzu. But it's the demon that possesses the little girl in The Exorcist, whose name is Reagan.
Oh, wow.
And the demon is known as Pazuzu. They name it in the book. It's not mentioned in the actual film, but the books upon which the film is based mention him by name. And
the fuck?
And yeah, what's wrong, man?
No. I just typed in like demon, and I saw some freakish.
Dude, just put the.
Man, this is messed up. My God,
it's the film, man.
Jesus.
Yeah. So this is for me. This is the most terrifying antagonistic force of all time. It's this unseen evil that overtakes what by rights is the purest thing that we know of, which is a little girl, a little preteen child. And that to me represents everything about innocence, and just the idea of innocence being corrupted in the way that it is in this movie, and the way that my thoughts on The Exorcist. I think it's the greatest movie of all time, just by virtue of the sheer brilliance of its direction and script and performances. Everything about it. It's the whole package. But the way that they do it in The Exorcist is gradual. She doesn't get to this. This is like third stage, possession. By this time, she's totally taken over, and like she's the absolute embodiment of evil. So yeah, if a villain is something that instills fear into your heart, then I've never been properly scared by a movie as I have with The Exorcist. And even to this day, if I turn off the lights and watch it, even though I watched it, 40,000 different times, it still unsettles me, man. Certain scenes, particularly just the buildup and how well it's executed in terms of the pacing of the film.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, because I was saying, could this still be yeah, you could still argue that this is a good pick, because again, this represents pure evil. This literally represents pure evil, and it's like, look, as I said again, it is one of the freakiest. No, it is the freakiest film that I've ever seen again, and it's a film that I will never want to watch again, man. And I think my thing about this is this the villain itself, or is it more so William Friedkin's directing and the atmosphere that he creates?
The script, everything, even like the way that it's presented, like it speaks in tongues, the demon. And Max von Sydow is the Exorcist. The Exorcist, that's the He's the title figure. He says, the demon is a liar. It will mix lies and the truth to confuse you. And it says it's the devil, the whatever that demon is, but it's not really. But that's that's what it says it is, and it speaks in Latin and stuff, and it's just really, dude, just watch the movie again, man. You have to watch it. You have to watch it.
What?
And if you appreciate movie making, then this has to be at the.
No. Sorry, I watched it once, and that's I'm never watching it again. Never. Sorry, no, I'm done. I am completely done watching that movie. I'm done. No thanks. All right, guys. Well, we're almost here now. My number one. So you said that you think you know what my number one is.
Yes, I know what your number one is.
And why do you? Okay, so before you say, because you might be right. So why have I said this to you?
You said it in a previous thing, and I thought, okay, weird. But can I tell the audience what it is? All right, it's the guy from Dirty Harry, the villain.
How the heck did you remember? Okay.
I've done this from the beginning. I didn't even have to go through the process of elimination.
Wait. How do you remember?
You mentioned it in passing. Oh, this guy's underrated. This guy's a very underrated movie villain. And then you told me that people weren't going to expect your choice of number one. And
so Scorpio. So guys are like, okay, right now guys are like, okay, HH, let's build a wing for you and everything. But when I was making this list, my main thing of making this list is, for a villain is, I don't care about your motivations, your past, your history, is what represents true evil. True evil. A guy who is truly reprehensible and has zero remorse for what he does. I think Scorpio in Dirty Harry is literally the very definition of a thing that is supremely evil. And again, why I like this is somebody who is human, similar to John Doe, because it's even scarier if it's someone that is closer to home rather than a Sauron or a demonic figure. This dude, normally you say, okay, there's a line you don't cross. This dude crosses that line, because you say, wait a minute, okay, you can be as if, but at least this is a part in which, but this dude crosses that line. Again, for people who've not seen this film, you'll know when he crosses that line. And I think once he does that, you're like, hey, what? Wait, so what are you? So, and he is such a repulsive, disgusting, filthy, and the beauty about it, he is unlikable. Like, you walk away saying, you know what, I want someone to flipping destroy this, because, and that is what makes, for me, that's what makes an amazing villain. You're not supposed to like a villain. A villain is not supposed to be cool. You're supposed to hate him. And when you look at the dude, you're like, God, this dude is a disgusting, filthy creature. He's a disgusting, filthy creature. And the actor sells this thing to complete and not to perfection. So for me,
I think this dude was featured, and it's funny because from what I understand and what I recall of this movie, this guy is given no background, basically. He's just evil for the sake of evil. And it's funny because I think this is the same actor that played the detective in a movie that you and I are both familiar with, named Cobra, which, Stallone's Cobra, which I've greatest bad movies of all time. And that features a villain that I think is so comically, I wouldn't even call it unidimensional. It's just like zero dimensions.
Oh, no. Basically, it's I call it a typical sly 2D villain.
It's like 1D, this one. You just basically, there's a cult of people that like to bang axes around and they just like kill people for no reason whatsoever. There's no like ideology behind or anything. It's just like, all right, let's bang axes around and like fuck shit up. and yeah, this is sort of in the same mold of like this dude that just wants to fuck shit up for no reason. There's no nothing driving him.
No, and I think no, because I think, but for me, a character like this is just more fascinating because you're like, because for me, see, the guy in Cobra, you're like, okay, this is just comical because it's Cobra, because of how the film is made. But because Dirty Harry is a better film, it's more realistic.
But I promise you, Stallone was probably inspired by Dirty Harry, because that's what he's trying to do with Cobra is
no, of course, and he failed miserably, man.
I think Cobra is like, it stands to. It's so funny. It's so bad that
Cobra isn't relax. Cobra isn't bad. Cobra isn't bad. Cobra is it's a Sly movie. See, if you're a Sly fan, Cobra is flipping amazing. You know, if you're a Sly fan, Cobra is flipping amazing. So but you just have to be a fan of Sly, and then you love Cobra. If you're not a fan of Sly, Cobra is trash. Same thing with Tango and Cash. Tango and Cash is a whatever movie, but because I'm a huge fan of Cotton Sly, it's huge. So let's just rewind.
Tango and Cash, man.
So can you recount your list from 20 to 1 so people can know? So let's just recount our list.
There's an omission that I should have put Lestat, the vampire Lestat, somewhere on here. But yeah, so it's Tong Po at 20, Vigo from Ghostbusters 2 at 19, Legends Lord of Darkness at 18, Zero Wolf from Apocalypto at 17, Lopan at 16, Lopan from Big Trouble in Little China, Han at 15, Han from Enter the Dragon, and then Louis Cyphre at 14, Emperor Palpatine at 13, Nurse Ratched at 12, Anton Chigurh at 11, Buffalo Bill at 10, Alonzo Harris at 9, Sergeant Barnes at 8, Predator at number 7, Bricktop from Snatch at number 6, the Xenomorph, the alien, at number 5, Joker at 4, Wicked Witch of the West at 3, and Hans Gruber at 2, and the Demon Pazuzu at number 1.
Interesting. So my 20. So number 20, Thanos. 19, Agent Smith. 18, Biff. 17, Nurse Ratched. 16, Hans Gruber. 15, the Joker, Jack Nicholson. 15, Zod. 14, Vader. 13, Frost from Blade. 12, Steven Seagal from Machete. Oh no, I think I messed up here. So 10. So 20 Thanos, 19 Smith, 18 Biff, Nurse Ratched, 17 Hans Gruber, 16 Joker, 15 Zod, 14 Vader, 13 Frost, 12 Seagal from Machete, 11 Van Damme from Expendables 2, 10 Fender from Cyborg, 9 number 8 number stands for Leon the Professional. Number 7, Indio from Few Dollars More. 6, Steven from Django Unchained. 5, Sauron. 4, Emperor Palpatine. 3, Anton Chigurh. 2, John Doe. And number 1, Scorpio from Dirty Harry, man. So look, man.
I think you'll be doing some time in the Rick Academy, man, with this list.
It's like, people don't understand. It's like, first of all, people who said this, you need to go and watch Dirty Harry. That's a big list. Okay, that list is fully legit. See, induct me for other stuff, fine. You can induct me for Semi's Minimum and all that crap, but that as a list is a top notch. So we'll ask the audience before we get out of here. What should we do for next Thursday?
What
do you guys want us to do for next Thursday?
Have we done best sequels? Have we done the top sequels or no?
I think, no, we did. We did top sequel because Back to the Future 2 was my number one.
Okay, I should have included Ghostbusters too, man. In that top.
Yeah, no, but see, that was like a special mention, man. That was a special mention. So wait, why are guys hating on Seagal? It's like, wait, do people really hate Seagal that much?
I think Seagal's like one of the most wooden dudes of all time, like actors of all time. A ridiculous figure in real life, and I'm not hating on Seagal. I'm just hating on the prospect that he would feature in the top 800 best villains of all time, let alone the top 10.
Actually, this is interesting. Top 10 remakes better than the originals. Because I'm not a fan of remakes. And there are not many remakes that I would put above originals,
There's more than you would think if you do the research. There's a lot of things that you would not think are necessarily remakes or reboots.
I like this though, because this is obviously the decade I was born in. Top 10 80s movies.
Too many. There's too many. I can't.
That's a tough list.
That's almost like a top 10 list. A top 10 greatest movies of all time, because so many will be from the 80s for me.
Yeah. I mean, yeah, it's because you have Back to the Future, you have Raging Bull, you have the Indiana Jones films, you have Batman, you have Predator, you have Aliens. Too many films. You have Terminator 1.
I'm just going to remind myself of the name, but I almost included Mola Ram, who is the villain of Temple of Doom. In this
Temple of Doom,
which is
with very underrated film. The Thing, one of my favorite films of all time. John Carpenter's The Thing.
That's a remake. Scarface remake.
The thing is, I don't watch horror movies. After Wreck, which wrecked me, and Exorcist, which exorcised me. Actually, that should be one of. Oh my God! You know how I have like you've been lubricated, you've been circumcised. How is an exorcism? Oh my God! An exorcism should be one of the things. Basically, exorcism should be like 10.
You have baptism, but if you get
yeah, you have to have an exorcism. They got exorcised. But do you know what's funny? Do you know what I'm tempted to do? I'm tempted to do like a watch party of a horror movie. So watch a horror movie with HH.
Dude, that's box office gold. That's gonna go.
Do you know what I always do? This is like I do this. Basically, I sort of do this because see, I hate jump scares. I hate like I'm like, don't tell me if you're coming out of the corner so I can prepare myself. Don't just shock me.
Yeah.
You see, now this would be amazing. See, this would be fully amazing.
Come on.
Top 10.
I can't list more than 3 watchable Seagal movies. There's Hard Target, right? Or Hard to Huh? Is it Hard Target? There's
Hard Target, yeah.
There's Under Siege, and there's another one that was decent, like watchable, and then the rest is just like, dude, completely.
No, but I think it's a top 10 Steven says as a Seagal. You know what?
I would do a top 10 Jean-Claude Van Damme movies. I'll be very happy to do that. Let's watch The Exorcist, man, together, man. I'll hold your hand virtually.
Wait, Bashim, is it that you want to rip my balls into pieces? Like,
listen, I just think that once I was with you as well, because I watched The Exorcist when I was like 12 or something. And scarred for life initially, but then the more I watched it, the more like the more conditioned it's just you become numb to it, and you appreciate the filmmaking behind the fright and the.
Actually, could you do a top 10 movies with female heroes or villain characters?
Yeah, I'd have to think about it, but yeah.
I mean, could I do a top 10? That would be tricky. That would be tricky. You see, this is easy. I could easily do that. No. Sorry. What am I doing? I could easily do that. Top 10 Annie.
I could do that as well.
Oh no, that. So yeah. So basically, actually, what I'll do? I'll put up a poll. I'll put up a poll with all of your suggestions and the horror in happening, bro. Unless the only way that it happens, if you pay me 250 million, I will watch Exorcist in the dark with a machine. Pay me 250 million pounds sterling cash. Sterling cash. And the Exorcist in the dark with the man.
You have to put that as an option on your poll, if you get
Yeah. No, but look, I'll think about it. Or give me a horror movie that I haven't seen.
Okay, yeah, sure, man. I'll give you like a horror movie that's, The Strangers. Let's watch that. I like that a lot.
Oh man, look, man. That's right. Okay, can I just ask the thing? Why do people like horror movies so much?
Because there's a certain cozy feeling and being
of getting your balls ripped up.
No, but knowing that you're safe at the same time. You're scared but safe, and I don't know. There's something about that contrast. It's like watching a tiger from behind a protective pane.
I mean, bro, this don't. Okay, that's what's pushing the line. That's what's pushing it. That's what's pushing. All right, guys, look, man, it's been all good. It's been swell. And yeah, we'll be back here again Thursday for another beautiful talk. Remember to subscribe if you're new. Remember to hit that like button, man. And then we'll see you guys next time. Peace out. Stay true. And we are real, man. Bada bing, bada boom. Become a Half Hope Sort member and gain access to exclusive videos and also the chance to watch films, anime, or different videos with your boy HH exclusively. Just click below on the join button to join in and become a Half Hope Sort member to gain access to these perks. Just click on the community icon over here to view the new members only posts just for you.